What's going on, everybody? A good and happy Thursday morning to all of you. DK Show coming at you, whether you're listening on the radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM, streaming online at sportstalk1051.com. You got the app, download it, smart devices, smart speakers. Video streams are also up and rolling on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, the X, YouTube over there. However you're tuning in this morning, big thanks for making us a part of your start if you're already up and at it on this Thursday of March 6th. All right, what do we got on a good old game plan for us this morning? Let's go through that. We're going to talk some Bucks. We're going to talk some Giannis. Bucks last night taking down a depleted Dallas Mavericks team, 137 to 107. Bucks now move to 11 games over 500, improved to 22-9 at home. Bucks 8-2 in their last 10 games, 4 wins in a row. Moving up a half game now over the Pacers, for that 4th spot, 4 games back from the Knicks for the 3rd overall seed in the Eastern Conference. But it was another night for Giannis, triple-double again for the Greek Freak, 32 points, 15 rebounds, not a triple-double, excuse me, double-double, but 32 points, 15 rebounds, 4 assists. However, he did this all in just 25 minutes of play. In just 25 minutes of play, he was able to put up a double-double, 32 points, and 15 rebounds. And his sidekick, Damian Lillard, in just 27 minutes of play, 34 points. So these two were in fuego last night. Bucks overall 58.4% from the field, shooting 45.7% from 3. Kevin Porter Jr., though, was the man who had a triple-double. We were just talking about him. We've talked about him the last couple times, singing his praises a little bit yesterday. And then last night, he goes in there, 26 minutes, 10 points, 14 assists, and 11 rebounds. That trade really working out for the Bucks. But back to Giannis here. Giannis eclipsing the 20,000 points mark for his career, the 6th youngest player to do so. I mean, guys ahead of him, guys like LeBron, KD, Wilt Chamberlain, Kobe, Michael Jordan, just no big names or anything like that. But the 6th youngest player in NBA history to reach 20,000 career points. And it's going to happen, and it could happen within the next week or so. But Giannis will be in the top 50 for scorers in NBA history, and he just turned 30 not that long ago. So, I mean, this is a dude that is just, we kind of joke, what else can Giannis do that would surprise us and such. And, Doc Rivers maybe alluded to it last night. He kind of talked about it from the mainstream media. But he said, I think we're taking him for granted. And I think, what he was saying in his post-game presser, a lot of Bucks fans would probably agree with. But, Doc was saying Giannis isn't getting quite the attention or the notoriety that a lot of players are this season. And when you look at what Giannis is doing so far this year, I mean, a career year, plus he does it on both ends of the court, offensively and defensively. Yeah, I think Doc has a legit case. I think he's right. So, but Giannis is currently number 52 on the all-time scoring list. He's just 32 points back from Antoine Jameson, who's at 51, and then at number 50 is Tom Chambers. Yeah, so he's gonna crack that. I don't know if he's gonna be able to catch up with Mitch Richmond and Joe Johnson, who are there. But when it's all said and done, I mean, I think a really good shot that Giannis is going to be a top 10 scorer in NBA history. So We'll talk some Bucks, and we'll talk a little Giannis coming up here in just a little bit. Staying with hoops, Badger basketball. Probably a little too close for comfort, especially down the stretch there, but they were able to pick up a victory last night against the Gophers. They got Penn State this weekend to wrap up their regular season. But Jack Janicki, maybe the new folk hero for Wisconsin Badger basketball for the next few years here. The freshman, 22 minutes in action, scored at 6 points. You look at the stat lines, you're like, oh, yeah, didn't do a whole lot, but he's kind of the talk from the game last night, just where his points came, pivotal moments, but then, chips a tooth on the court last night, holds it up in front of his friends and family. He is a Minnesota native, gets standing ovation coming off the court. So just another one of those pesky Badgers, pesky Big Ten players for the foreseeable future. So, but yeah, Badgers picking up their 23rd win of the season, improving to 23-7. So as we mentioned, they will wrap up their regular season against Penn State coming up this weekend. Marquette, though, they fell last night to UConn, 672-66, and they wrap up their season in a tough one going up against St. John's. So Marquette, and that's going to be, well, that will be at home for Marquette at least. Last night was on the road, but that's going to be a tough one for them to wrap up their season and maybe not playing their best basketball heading into their conference tournament and shortly after that, the national tournament. So, but we'll talk some hoops, plenty of hoops talk coming at you. I do want to talk some Brewers. Spring training yesterday, we had a split squad game with the White Sox and Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers getting in some more work, and they were pretty darn solid yesterday. Freddy Peralta went 3 innings, giving up just 2 hits, no earned runs, 4 strikeouts. And Tobias Myers, he went 3 innings, didn't give up a single hit, didn't issue a walk, and struck out 3. And Tobias Myers has been pretty, when you look at his outings, I know we say you can't, really take a whole lot away from spring training, especially when it comes to pitchers and such. And he's only pitched in 2 games and 4 innings and such, but 0 ERA. He's struck out 4. I mean, Tobias Myers kind of looks like he's picked up where he's left off from last season. And for a lot of talk about this starting pitching staff with how veteran savvy or veteran heavy they are. There was a Quintana signing official. Freddy Peralta's in there. Aaron Savali's in there. We'll see what Brandon Woodruff is able to do. You got these veterans, and is it that far off to say that maybe Tobias Myers might be the better pitcher of this group going forward? I think he's the one that's maybe the arrow's trending a little bit higher, just because he's a little bit more of an unknown. We just got to see him for an extended period last season. But I think maybe that trend or that direction is moving on up for a guy like Tobias Myers. So Uribe got in. Abner Uribe, who could be a big part of the bullpen, touched 100 miles per hour on the radar gun yesterday. So, yeah, let's talk some Brewers coming up in a little bit later on, too. We'll throw a little football chat here. Maybe a day yesterday that got some Packers fans wondering, hey, can it happen? DK Metcalf requesting a trade. Seattle then releasing Tyler Lockett as well. So another veteran receiver available on the market. He's out there. Joey Bosa's getting cut. Anybody who's still hoping for a Max Crosby trade, that pipe dream's officially over as the Raiders gave him a new deal, making him the highest paid player that's not a quarterback. So move on to the next one on your wish list. But a day yesterday as NFL teams making moves and, trying to open up some salary before free agency begins next week. So got more names out there, potentially, maybe some fits for the green and gold for the Packers. I know DK Metcalf rumor was out there for the Packers at the Combine last week. Now that he's officially requested a trade, we'll see if that actually happens or not, especially after Seattle released Tyler Lockett. But, that's got Packers fans hoping and praying quite a bit on the social media stratosphere out there. So we'll do some receiver defer. We'll do a little Throwback Thursday. We'll do outdoor chats with Jake Bolks coming up at about 8:30. So if you have any questions for our DNR warden buddy, let me know. Okay, hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. You got to get them in right now at 715-830-1912. 715-830-1912. So we'll get to that coming up a little bit later on here too. So lots to get to here this morning. We're going to be touching on everything. We're going to talk some hoops, Bucks, Badgers, talk some baseball, Brewers, maybe throw in a little green gold chat with Pack, and well, even some outdoor chat here too. So let's jump right into it. I want to open up things with a question out to all of you. With Giannis, do you agree with Doc? Do we take him for granted? Do we, maybe from a national sense, you could say, but I'm asking you straight up from a Bucks fan, Wisconsin sports fan perspective, do we take Giannis for granted? For a guy that is doing some amazing, even if you're not the biggest basketball fan, do you take him for granted because he's the greatness that we have in this guy? Do we kind of just like, oh yeah, maybe I need to appreciate it a little bit more? Maybe I need to follow it a little bit more? What do you think? All right, hit me up with a text or comment on the video stream. Give me your thoughts. We'll take a quick break and get things rolling. We'll begin this morning talking some hoops. So let's do that. All right, quick break, and we'll get things rolling after these few words. Don't forget, you can pre-sign up, pre-register for our bracket challenge. Just head to sportstalk1051.com and click on the Fan Cave tab and scroll on down to the bottom. Obviously, can't make any picks yet because Selection Sunday isn't here. So, but you can sign up now so you don't forget, because as soon as Selection Sunday is here, you know that you're going to have to make those picks right away. So get signed up for free, again, by visiting sportstalk1051.com and clicking on the Fan Cave tab on that page. So definitely it's going to be interesting here in these final games. I mean, Tennessee losing last night. You had Florida taking down Alabama. So definitely going to be some adjustments when it comes to maybe some rankings, and in turn, maybe how the seedings go, or maybe those teams can improve their stocks a little bit more when it comes to some of their conference tournaments and such. But, this final week of the regular season for college basketball is definitely shaping up for a little drama here. And it's been a lot of fun. I think this is going to be a really fun tournament coming up here. No question about it. You had Maryland taking down Michigan last night. Didn't really help out Wisconsin in terms of, maybe separating and getting a little bit of a higher seed for the conference tournament. But, take down Michigan here a little bit too. That's okay. So, but should be not only for a national tournament, should be a really fun national tournament, but a really fun conference tournament as well. All right, let's begin this morning talking some Milwaukee Bucks. Last night, the Bucks taking down the Dallas Mavericks 137-107. Giannis, in just 25 minutes of play, putting up 32 points, 15 rebounds against the depleted Dallas Mavericks. You had Damian Lillard at 34 points in 27 minutes of action. Kevin Porter Jr., triple-double for him, 10 points, 14 assists, and 10 rebounds as well. This is what Giannis had to say last night after eclipsing the 20,000-point mark, becoming the sixth youngest player to do so. So audio courtesy from the NBA. This is a little bit about Giannis talking about what it takes to be great, essentially.
How can I stay focused? I feel like before I came to the NBA, I had to be locked in. When I came to the NBA, I looked around me and I said, the only way I can make it in this league is by working hard, and I have to show up every single day. I had conversations with great players that played the game, and they're all-time greats, and they told me that the best players, the greats, never get bored. And as I worked, and I got to a point that I realized what separates me from the other players around me and the people, that I played the game, is that my heart, my spirit, my work ethic, and how disciplined I am to repeat it.
And this was Doc Rivers after the game too, talking about the season that Giannis has been having, and are we taking him for granted?
Yeah, Giannis's numbers, it's almost like he's forgotten great player in the league. Like, I hear about everybody else, and I don't hear enough about what Giannis is doing. The year he's having, he's having a career year this year. And it's in some ways, at least I feel like it's going unnoticed. I mean, you can put his numbers up against anybody in the league this year. You really can. Then when you factor in that he plays on both sides of the ball as well, to me, he's like Groundhog's Day. He does it every day, same thing. And I think at times we do take it for granted, and we really should.
And that was, again, head coach Doc Rivers last night, audio courtesy from ESPN. So do you agree with head coach Doc Rivers that we as Bucks fans, or Wisconsin sports fans, do we take Giannis for granted? I think everybody would agree that the mainstream media probably does take it for granted, but do we as Bucks fans, maybe, or maybe just kind of casual Wisconsin sports fans, even if you're not the biggest Bucks fan out there, I mean, this is an all-time great player playing in your state, playing for the team that's in your state. Do you take it a little bit for granted. Because I'll be honest with you, I think I take him for granted a little bit. I mean, it's never, I'm always amazed by him and what he's able to do and such. But I don't think we still give him enough credit for what he's due. Because for me, Giannis to me is the guy, the athlete, the player that we clamor for as fans, that he does it the right way. And I feel like we do take it for granted for that way, because a lot of times we're complaining about, well, this guy isn't playing load management, or, attitude from this guy. He doesn't do it the right way, or doesn't play for the right reasons. And Giannis, from all accounts, does that. And I feel like at times we maybe don't give him enough credit for that. I think the mainstream media, for sure, in their world, they go after all these other guys, whether it was like All-Star break and calling out these dudes or whatever, and just calling out certain athletes or praising other ones like a LeBron and that. And they don't do it enough for a guy like Giannis. But at the same time, I feel like we could still do, as Wisconsin fans, do a little bit better job for Giannis, because, we've criticized Aaron Rodgers a lot over the last couple of years for off the field stuff or what he says when he's with the Packers and, media wise, and Pat McAfee show or whatever. But when it comes to Giannis, from all accounts, he's the guy that's having fun. He's the guy that's doing it the right way. And I think there's still points maybe we don't give him enough credit at that point.
I think you're shorting yourself, because everything you're saying is you are giving him credit. We know how great he is. We talk about how great he is, what a difference he's made.
I think he
in the
deserves
basketball
more.
coach. Well, that may be possible, but I'm saying for what you're saying, you're giving him a lot of credit. So I don't think you're shortchanging him at all.
I feel bad because I think I did.
Yeah, but I'm just sitting here listening to what you're saying.
I think I need a Giannis tattoo.
Well, that might be taking a little over the top, but to each their own. To each their own, that's for sure. But no, I agree with everything you said. That Giannis on the national level, yeah, but I'll ask you this. At the national level, is it because of Giannis or because of the fact that he's playing in Milwaukee? Now,
it's
if he's
probably
playing
Milwaukee.
in Chicago, or if he's playing in New York or LA, or, just about any other city. I mean, look at Cleveland. Look at Oklahoma City. That's not a major market, but they're getting national attention. They got the best record. So, they in Cleveland have been wonderful this year. But you look at it, and I think it's Milwaukee, and it's the national. It's always that way. The Brewers get nothing. You listen, like when I come in the morning, when the baseball season is on, they'll give baseball scores. And the Brewers are always at least the last two or three, if they're mentioned at all. And, being a fan of those teams, you're waiting for that score. And so the national media, I think, is probably, as you say, are we giving enough credit to Giannis? I think maybe the national media is slanting your thought on that, because they're not giving it. But I think locally, we appreciate him. We talk about him all the time, how great he is, what a wonderful young man he is. There's no scandal. It's family first with him, not only his own immediate family, but also, his parents, his brothers. I mean, this guy is family first. He's community first. He's a perfect guy for the Wisconsin attitude, so to speak. I think he gets a lot of credit. Could he get, I suppose, sure. Everybody could get more. You'd like more. I'd like more. But everybody'd like more credit in their job and what they're doing. But I think Giannis gets a whole lot of credit, and it's all deserved. I think Giannis is a great role model, like Charles Barkley. I'm not a role model. I'm not trying to be. And without saying that I'm a role model, I like to get the kids. I mean, he's great around the kids. I think Giannis gets a lot of credit, deservedly so. We could always give him more, but I don't think he's getting shortchanged at all.
I just, for me, what you kind of alluded there too, and I've said it before, but like for, if you got a youngster, we all had favorite, we'd call them role models as kids, or, our heroes that were sports figures. And Giannis to me is like the epitome of that right now. Like is it fair to say he's like an old soul sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, he's a throwback.
Yeah.
It used to be, like over in Green Bay, and I love it that they still do this. They still ride the kids' bikes, but who ruins that? It's the same thing with getting autographs. Who ruins that? Adults.
Yeah.
Get out of the way. Grow up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sports fantasy is for kids. Sports fandom is for the older people. You know, you and I that go to the games, buy the season tickets and this, that, and the other thing. It's the adults that want to capitalize on this. Oh, if I get Giannis to sign this cap, just think how much that's going to be worth. I can sell it.
Right.
You know, that, and then you go to these sports shows with all these autographs. You know, I remember as a kid, I used to go to Milwaukee, the Braves games, and I could get autographs. You know, those guys, they signed them for kids. They didn't sign them for adults. And I think they're getting to the point now where they see adults, they'll pass by adults. That's why I love to watch, like the golfers, when they come off, they'll give the ball to the kids or their glove to the kids, and they'll sign a kid's cap or something. And now maybe an adult has given the kid the cap to have it signed, whatever. But still in all, he's signing it for the kids. If the adults would just get out of the way and let the kids enjoy these athletes, I don't think the athletes would be as snide either.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, if you go back to the days when, you know, the kids, you know, you grow up with your heroes in sports. And as you get older, you know, they're still your heroes, but you understand the ways of the world a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are still in a fantasy world as far as sports and athletes and the wonderful things like a guy like Giannis can do.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, but too often adults ruin that fantasy world.
Mm-hmm. No, I 100% would agree with that. And, you know, we've seen it, and, you know, how many times have we seen it on TV too, like a home run ball or a foul ball or a guy trying to give somebody a ball and you got an adult trying to rip it away and trying to jump in front of a kid, you know, in the stands
all the
and
time.
that. And it's like, dude, what are you doing?
You know, and the thing is, you know, a guy from a different team hits it in your ballpark and an adult catches that ball and throws it back on the field. Give it to a kid sitting in the bleachers next to you. As our old boss, the old owner of our radio station, hey, these guys are nothing but hired heroes. You know, how much allegiance do they have to your franchise now? And I don't blame them so much either because of this contract situation. They can go someplace else and sign a huge contract. You know, it's just Shaquan Barkley is a great example of that. He left New York. They didn't sign him. He leads Philadelphia to the Super Bowl because he left because of more money. And you can't blame him. But, you know, the world has changed. But kids admiring and adoring athlete, even at the college level and the pro level, let them live their fantasy world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Adults, get out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, again, you know, I know we once in a while say too that, you know, kind of half jokingly with Giannis, what else can we say about Giannis for what he's done? And well, last night becoming the sixth youngest to hit 20,000 career points. And there's a really good chance in the next couple games he's going to crack the top 50 in all-time points scored. 5 guys that did it younger than him, just some average jokers named Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant. So, you know, just
and I was listening on the way in this morning to the overnight show that's on before you, and the guy was talking. He said, "Is LeBron's record the most unbreakable record now in sports?"
The point score, yeah, because he eclipsed 50,000, right?
Yeah. And who's going to play that? This was 25 or 30 years.
Yeah.
Giannis will get 40,000 points in, how old will he be? He'll be.
He just turned 30, so
yeah,
I don't know if he'd even get 40.
And the guy brought up some good points. He says, you know, they talk about Joe DiMaggio's 56 games. All you got to have is one good year, one good part of one good year. You know, and some of these other records, you just got to have health and a year. Giannis, you got to have 25 or 30 years. So I sat and thought about it as I was driving. I thought, he's making a great point. That's probably now the most unbreakable record in sports.
I'd put that and probably still Cal Ripken.
Yeah, that takes time too. Absolutely.
You know, the whole got to rest guys. And
Yeah,
you know,
I was just
that's
going to say this load management, although I don't think they do that as much in baseball
No.
as they do basketball, but and that was another one he brought up.
Mhm.
He says, because some of these other ones, you know, the hit streak, you can do it. Can you hit 400? You got to have one good season.
Mm-hmm.
But some of these other records, like LeBron's 50,000 points, that's, you know, that's as great as Giannis is, he's not going to get close to it.
No, and I think it was DP actually yesterday. Dan Patrick said, you know, LeBron is going to he probably is already the most statistically decorated player, right? I mean, and
in
I know
any sport,
yeah, and I know some people. This came up during Derek Jeter's Hall of Fame, and we had some people say, well, the only reason his numbers are up there is because he played for a long time. Why is that a negative? Why should that be used as a negative? Was he the greatest shortstop of all time? No, maybe not. But, you know, I don't think you should penalize somebody who played at a high level for a really long time.
No, absolutely.
You know?
That's what you want in your, you know, you get a great player, you know. Well, let's talk about the Milwaukee Brewers.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a guy named Christian Yelich who is on track to be an all-time great, starting in Miami. Then he came here, and now his health has taken him. He's just an average player now, and he's going to be considered when his career is over an average player, average to good player, not a great player. He's
not a Hall of Famer.
No, he was on track to be a Hall of Famer and a great player, but not now.
No, I would agree with that. Yeah, you kind of wonder too. Obviously, other stuff there too, but you know, Ryan Braun was before the old steroid, but you know, then he got hurt all the time and on track for, you know, so he's not making Hall of Fame. I still think Brewers are going to retire his number at some point.
They probably will, and I would have no problem with that. But yeah, I think the LeBron record now, 50,000 points, that's unbelievable. I think that is unbreakable. Well, I'll never see it, and I don't think you will either.
Yeah, the only other one, I don't know, like I kept thinking Brady's numbers, but I don't know with Patrick Mahomes. You know, it could not the Super Bowl ones, but like the career touchdown passes and yards, because he's up there too. Where I mean, there's a gap, but quarterbacks, that one.
But you
that's
look
different too.
And you look at the football, the rules are slanted towards the offense, especially the passing game. Basketball, I don't know. I don't know what the rules are in basketball when you watch a game and see how some of them are officiated. I don't know what the rules are, but still in all, with a 3-point shot, you know, you got to go back to guys like Jerry West and some of those guys. They never had a 3-point line. And so it's same thing with Pistol Pete Maravich in college, the leading scorer. He did that without a 3-point line. And I'm waiting for someone to put a 3-point line out there, take all of Pete Maravich's films and see how many points he would have had with a 3-point line. But, you know, it's different. Basketball is officiated different. The rules are different. But I think in football, like you mentioned, I don't think Brady's records are untouchable by any means, because the game is slanted to favor the passing offense.
I was just so Brady has 89,214 passing yards. Drew Brees is second, and he's 9,000 yards behind Brady. Mahomes right now has 32,352. The other one I would put, just, you know, if we did like a top 5, I'd probably put Jerry Rice's receiving yards up there, because he's at 22,000. And there's nobody even close. Oh, he's almost at 23,000.
But Mahomes is 50,000 yards behind
Tom Brady.
And you get let's give him 4,000 yards a season. You're talking 12, 13, 14 more years.
Yeah.
Is he going to be around that long? And will he be able to play at this high a level? You know, I'd bet against that.
And the two names, I mean, Brady and Rice, same thing with LeBron, right? Longevity.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Playing at a high level for a long, long time.
And the opposite of that, we've talked about that before. Sterling Sharp didn't have the luck of being healthy, because it is a lucky situation of being healthy to maybe break Jerry Rice's record. So you got to be in the right place at the right time for a lot of things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So a couple of never mind. My text line just kind of went down, so I'll have to bring it back up here in a little bit. But I know we did have a couple texts surrounding the Bucks. But yeah, last night too, Giannis did his double-double, over 30 points and 15 rebounds in just 25 minutes of action. does help that the Mavericks are completely desecrated right
I was
now.
watching that before the game, and they had 10 guys maybe that are out.
Yeah, I think they had like 6 or 7 guys in their layup line pregame,
man.
and then I mean,
Anybody that's over 6'5" and can breathe, Dallas will sign them.
Jason Kidd might have to suit up
I
again.
feel sorry for the fans down there with that trade. And Davis is out, and now
Kyrie's done.
Kyrie is done for the year. And oh my goodness, that general manager, he's got to be a hermit because he goes out in public. They're going to hang him, tar and feather him, and run him out of town.
And remember, this was a team that played in the finals last year too.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah, they're not even going to get a smell of the playoffs this year.
So yeah, it was a very depleted Mavericks team last night that Dame and Giannis took advantage of. And Kevin Porter Jr., again, we were singing his praises just yesterday and the day before. That was a trade deadline acquisition, and for Marjan Beauchamp. It was just a straight-up swap for Marjan Beauchamp. Clippers released him. He's with the Knicks now, and he wasn't even playing for the Bucks. Kevin Porter Jr. is getting minutes, and he had a triple-double last night coming off the bench for the Bucks.
I was watching it again before, and I have to admit I kind of laughed out loud when they gave the Bucks injured and out. Pat Connaughton is out with an injured calf. How did he get hurt? He's never been in a game. What did he do, fall off a bar stool? I laughed at that because Pat Connaughton would not play. It just was kind of ironic, I think.
Text line's back up. Jeremy says this is probably a dumb take question, but are the Bucks a better team without Portis? He hasn't played for several weeks now, and they are looking pretty good. I don't know if I'm ready to go there yet. I think I
don't think the competition has been A1.
Yep, I would agree with that. And I think I was just going to say kind of like matchup based. If you go up against a team that has that stretch that big that likes to, I'd still rather have Bobby Portis as my backup big or the guy coming off the bench to play defense over there too.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that Dallas team that was on the floor, there are probably some college teams that could have beat that team last night. I'm not throwing arrows at them. I'm just saying the injury situation and the personnel that they've got on that team now, they're not close to the finals.
I think we got to give credit to the new guys, Doc Rivers and his team too. You have Kyle Kuzma coming in, and you have Kevin Porter Jr., and they've been playing incredibly well. They've been gelling well, and I know that was a concern. It was like, okay, you're losing Middleton with the chemistry and such, and give them credit. They found something that's working right now, and Doc Rivers and everybody deserves credit for that.
Yeah, and I just hope that they can gel even a little bit better on defense. Then I think this team has a chance to surprise a few people, the national pundits, so to speak, when we get into the NBA finals or the playoffs.
Yep. All right, we got to take a quick break, and we'll finish up the first hour. We'll talk some college hoops as well. Badgers getting a W last night. One more game left in the regular season for them. We'll recap last night's win coming up next. If you missed our conversation yesterday with Eau Claire Express owner Craig, general manager Sammy, that is up on a new episode of the All Aboard, the Eau Claire Express podcast. You can find it on your favorite podcasting platforms or at our website, sportstalk1051.com, talking about the new video board that is coming to Carson Park. And
boy, I'm excited for that. That old scoreboard, you can't read that darn thing. It's hard to follow, so it's needed. One of the upgrades that'll make that even better, hopefully now, I don't know what it's going to take to get, new locker rooms and get that grandstand area upgraded to make it a first class. Certainly, we got Sonnentag for the university. Carson Park right across the road. Hopefully we can get that done. So what it will take, I don't know exactly, but hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, at least they're making. Got to give shout out to Craig and such, because they've been doing new stuff almost every single year over there, and that's a big one with especially considering a lot of other ballparks have that too. So,
absolutely, you bet. Did he talk about his roster? How's that roster coming along?
Dale's still putting some final touches on there and such. So, but hard to believe, just 2 months, a little over 2 months, it's going to be opening day. So that they're still looking for host families too, Bob. If you got an extra room over there, so
are they?
Yep, still looking for some host families. Right. So pass the word along for some of those players. But I saw this. I know we'll talk basketball coming up here, but. Yeah. Somebody posted this graphic. I don't know how they figured, you can figure it out, but Tony Gwynn's batting average by city that he played in. You want to take a gander of what he hit in Milwaukee?
Probably about 420.
Not too far off, 472.
Yeah. That guy,
472 in Milwaukee.
I mean, you look at him and how he could hit.
I think his lowest was, Seattle 261. Anaheim was 268. Everywhere else was over 300. My goodness.
And how many times did Nolan Ryan strike him out?
Oh,
because Nolan Ryan had what 7,000 strikeouts.
Yep.
But and I know Nolan Ryan obviously probably struck him out. But he could hold his own against any pitcher in Major League Baseball. He really could. He was so much fun to watch because it didn't matter. It was almost like a magician with that bat where he could put that ball.
Mm-hmm. So Nolan Ryan struck out Gwynn the most out of any pitcher, just 9 times out of 67 matchups.
Yeah. I know Nolan Ryan had struck him out because he didn't strike out much.
No.
But if you can hit the Von Ryan's Express, that's pretty good.
Talk about, players that maybe we need to appreciate more. Man, Tony Gwynn. He was always one of my favorite as a kid.
Tony Gwynn, Rod Carew, some of those, Ichiro. I mean, the way those guys could, because anybody that stood in a batter's box 60 feet 6 inches away from a pitcher, I don't care whether it's high school, whether it's semi-pro, whatever it is, some of these boys can throw pretty hard.
Yeah.
And to be able to do what they do in the batter's box and follow, because they've all got a different motion, the ball comes out at different angles. To be a hitter of that caliber is pretty special.
Yep. Well, he was one of my favorite as a youngster. Probably didn't get it. I mean, he wasn't the biggest power hitter, which, everybody loves a good power hitter in that. But
he couldn't run fast enough to get warm. He just could hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, God, he was a lot of fun to watch.
Yes, he was.
Still remember the World Series. Was it them and the Yankees? And Yankees just, dominated them, but still remember watching.
Because he was the reason they were in the World Series. They didn't have a whole lot to go with him.
Yep. Yeah. And again, maybe another guy that we should have appreciated more too was Mason Crosby officially retiring as a Packer yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he did. I didn't know that.
Yep. Officially, it must have been like the one day.
Yeah, those contracts.
17 years though. When you put it like that, 17 years, rookie in 07, I think.
Something you never worried about.
Yeah.
Mason Crosby, he had an off part of a year one year, but he was so consistent in that stadium with the wind and the cold.
Mm-hmm.
He was money.
You never really had to worry about number 2 out there.
No.
And just, and that's a credit, when he was going through, Ted Thompson held on to him. It said, no, we're gonna stick by him. Mike McCarthy, we're gonna stick by him, and he rewarded that.
Yes, he did.
He rewarded that, but you don't see too many kickers kind of bounce around, once in a while. But for a guy to stay with that team for as long as he did, 16 total years in Green Bay, I believe it was 17 overall, because he kind of bounced around after that. That's pretty darn remarkable.
And for what the Packers have gone through since he left, hopefully they've got it solved now, because they re-signed this kid. But hopefully, I mean, they drafted a guy, and the guy could kick the ball from here to Cadott, but you never know if it would go by way of Highway 29 or go through Fall Creek and Augusta to come back. I mean, he just was all over the field, missing makeable. Let's face it, he cost them advancing in the playoffs. And so hopefully they've got that problem solved now, because the kicker, how the quarterback and then the kicker, importance on that team?
Yeah, you don't I think kicker is kind of like almost like a long snapper or punter. You don't realize how badly you need them until they're screwing up.
Good point.
Okay, they're just, kind of automatic making kicks. Long snapper, you don't think about it, but unless that snaps like over the guy's head or in the dirt, or punters are shanking stuff, you don't realize it till it's really bad.
And you got to realize, in Green Bay, in Chicago, in Buffalo, those guys are so much more important. You're playing in Miami or Los Angeles or Las Vegas or a dome stadium. It's the same thing every week, especially a dome stadium. There's no wind. Temperature is the same. Everything is the same. Conditions are the same. But you do that in some of these other places that I just mentioned, man, oh man, you got to be versatile and you got to be good. Those guys should get a bonus. They should get a bonus in their contract, depending on where you play.
Yeah. Yep. So, but I know Mason's doing a radio show down in Milwaukee now as of late. So, but that became official yesterday. So easily probably the greatest Packers kicker of all time, right?
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, you've had some good ones, and I know Jerry Kramer kicked for a little bit
Paul
too. Paul Hornung kicked. Yep.
He had the scoring record for a long time.
I think that's kind of an underrated thing too. When you think about it, like these guys were nailing 40-some-yard field goals back in the 60s. They didn't have
straight on.
Yeah,
they had those flat-toed kicking shoes.
Yep. I mean, I want to see another offensive lineman go out there and be the field goal kicker like Jerry Kramer was doing.
I remember the guy that kicked for Detroit that only had half a foot. He had Tom Dempsey.
Yep.
He had the record 62 yards for so long, a straight-on kicker. And, I'll still never forget watching the video of that kick and what the other team, who was it, the Giants? Or I don't remember who they're playing exactly. But when that kick, because they didn't think, he's not going to make, and they just fell on the ground, took their helmets off, and they were just in awe. They couldn't believe it that they got beat by a 62-yard field goal outside.
And then remember Tony Franklin, the barefoot kicker?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That just makes me
cringe. And he was in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that just makes me cringe thinking about trying to kick a field goal barefoot. Man, gosh. How do you even try that?
You talk about a specialist.
Yeah.
How many barefoot kickers have been successful?
What makes you think, you know what, I'm going to try this barefoot. Maybe it'll actually work better for me. I just what crosses your mind to try that? I don't know, but God, I don't think we'll see those anymore.
No, I don't think you're going to see those. Although, what in the world, you do.
In
a dome or the warm weather, who knows?
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I would agree. So, all right, only got a couple minutes to the top, so we'll talk some Badgers coming up in the next hour. Just one more game left in the regular season. Penn State's coming up this weekend at the Kohl Center. Marquette falling last night to UConn, and well, they got a tough one to wrap up their regular season. St. John's, who is on a roll right now. So we'll talk some college hoops as we wrap up the regular season. For some of these teams, I know we got conference tournaments going on already for some teams, like Horizon League started earlier this week and such. So, but for the Big Ten and for a lot of the other teams wrapping up their regular season this week, and then conference tournaments next week, because Selection Sunday's just a week from Sunday already away. We already got some upsets this week in terms of ranking. I mean, Tennessee lost last night. Auburn lost earlier in the week. So maybe a little bit of adjusting in terms of the rankings before we get to Selection Sunday too. So
the way it's going this year, we'll probably have a perfect bracket by somebody, because it's such a turmoil as far as the ratings are concerned. It's an even tournament.
I think so. I think, maybe we say this a lot and maybe almost every single year, but I think it's wide open.
I do too.
for the national tournament this
Team
year.
that can get hot for the next 7, 8, 9 games.
Mhm.
Look out.
I keep saying, like, St. John's, the way they're playing right now,
Yeah.
and you got Rick Pitino over there.
Did you see him the other night in the sidelines with his white suit
He
on?
busted out the white suits. You know the confidence is flowing now for him.
Boy, is it ever. He's a peacock of college coaches.
Yep. So, but he
Also one of the best.
look at his wherever he goes. I know the Louisville thing got taken away, but man, besides Boston,
Yeah.
should say wherever he goes.
And would it be
but-
taken away now versus what happened then with the
Mhm.
rules we've got now?
Yep. All right, 1 hour in. We got 2 more to go. We got some news updates, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Second hour on this Thursday morning coming at you. Big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. Coming to you from the TDS Sports Talk studios. We're going to talk some college hoops. Badgers picking up a win yesterday. We'll hit that up. We'll talk some baseball as well. Brewers spring training game yesterday, 2 of them against the White Sox. We'll talk a little Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers and their outings from yesterday. We got receiver defer at the back end of this hour. Coming up next hour, questions for our game warden, Mr. Jake Boakes. Text those on over to 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. All right, you got to text those on in right now so we can get those to Jake. So Jake will be coming up at about 8:30 this morning. So get those questions in. Now is your opportunity. If you have any fishing, maybe even some hunting or whatever, outdoor questions, text those on over. First hour, we spent some time talking a little Giannis with the Bucks win last night. Giannis eclipsing the 20,000 career point mark. He's very close to cracking the top 50 of all time. And Giannis with his double-double last night, over 30 points, 15 rebounds, doing it in just 25 minutes. Giannis also becoming the 6th youngest player in NBA history to eclipse the 20,000 career point mark. Guys that only did it younger than him. Some jokers named LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kobe Bryant, Wilt Chamberlain, and somebody named Michael Jeffrey Jordan. So, again, Giannis joining some exclusive company. And now we keep kind of, half jokingly saying, what else can Giannis do to surprise us? And still finds ways to surprise a lot of us or impress a lot of us too. So do you think he gets a little underappreciated with his greatness? If you maybe from casual basketball fans and such, what do you think? Hit me up with a text or comment on the video streams over there, or hit me up on the socials at DANKASPER. Also, if you got any suggestions for some receiver defer questions, you can play along with us. You can send those suggestions on over too. Let's do a little Throwback Thursday before we get to some college hoops talk. I'm actually going to turn it into a little bit of a trivia question, see if anybody can get this correct. Okay, so get your texting fingers or comment on the video stream. Get your typing fingers ready here. But it was this day, and try not to look it up, okay? Don't be a party pooper and don't try to look up the answer, okay? But it was this day in 1983. Okay, 1983, the USFL, the United States Football League, began its first season of pro football competition. Here's a little trivia question for you. Who was the first overall pick in the 1983 USFL draft? Who was the first overall pick in the 1983 USFL collegiate draft? Okay. Text me who you think it is. Please don't look it up. Try not to look it up, okay? Just have some fun with it. We'll see if anybody gets it. Okay, so text those on over, or again, video stream, comment on the video stream if you want, or hit me up on the socials with your pick. We'll tell you the answer coming up here in just a little bit. Hoops wise, you had the Badgers last night taking down the Gophers. It was probably a little too close for comfort for a lot of Badger fans going down the stretch there, but ultimately they get the win at the barn last night, and Badgers will wrap up their regular season this weekend against Penn State. But with the win last night for the Badgers, excuse me, that 74-67 victory over the Gophers. Yeah, John Tonje putting up 18 points, but he was in a little foul trouble there towards the end. John Blackwell leading the team with 25 points and 11 rebounds, a double-double for him. But with Tonje in foul trouble, it was Jack Janicki getting some extended playing time. 22 minutes for the freshman, Minnesota native. Finished with 6 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists, but it was where his points came from at different points in the game. And then chip in his tooth, face plants on the hardwood floor, chips his tooth, holds it up to the crowd, gets a standing ovation, and I mean, maybe just turning into, I mean, he was kind of the talk of the game afterwards. And some thinking out there, could he be that pesky, that new pesky Badger player that seems like he plays for 10 years in the Big Ten or 10 years for the Badgers and such? But I had a lot of friends and family in the stands from last night's game, and he was kind of the talk of the game last night. But Badgers also 21 of 24 from the free throw line. This has been a very good free throw shooting team throughout this whole season. And they've always been up towards the top at certain points, the top team in the country in terms of their free throw shooting. But again, 21 of 24 from the charity stripe. And Wisconsin right now, actually just double checking the NCAA rankings, they are the top team in the country in free throw percentage, 83.28. Villanova is second at 81.1, which again is still something I think surprises a lot of Badger fans because, well, it wasn't that long ago where it felt like they couldn't buy a bucket at the charity stripe and such. But this is a team that has definitely improved from the charity stripe this year, and maybe could become a factor when it comes to tournament time, especially when you get in those close games. Because what happens, kids, when you get in close games and you're up, opposing teams foul, try to make you win it at the line. And right now, Wisconsin is the best one at the charity stripe. So,
I watch some of the high school and I watch some of the college players shoot free throws. And I often sit there and wonder, does somebody coach these guys to help them? Because you wonder what they're looking at. I was lucky in high school. I was a good free throw shooter, but I worked
humble
at it.
brag.
But no, I'm just saying, but I worked at it and I had good coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And the coach always said, "What are you looking at?" I'm looking at the rim. What part of the rim?
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Well, I don't know. I'm just looking at the rim." He said, "No. You look at the front of the rim. That's all you focus on. You shoot the ball so it hits the front of the rim or just behind the front of the rim." And as I watch this now, and that's what I always did, and if you practice it enough, it becomes very easy. And you look at this now and watch a game and watch free throws. A lot of these guys they're going to swish every one of them, the really good ones. But some of them clank them off. But watch a ball, if it hits the front of the rim, most of the time, because if it hits the front of the rim, it's going to hit the backboard and go in, or it's going to just die over the top. But I often wonder how much time, and I don't know this, so I'm just asking how much time they actually spend not shooting like coaches that shoot 10 or 25 free throws and go to the locker room. But how many times is a coach watching these kids at the high school and, even the little kid level or college level and correcting maybe some of the flaws they have? Because like you said, the Badgers, best free throw team in the country, that makes a lot of wins versus a lot of losses. I was watching last night a game and they were down 3 points and the guy got fouled with like 8 seconds left. And he banked all three of them off the back of the rim and the side of the rim. I mean, this guy had no idea what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And and so I often wondered how much coaching they do, because at the end of shoot 25 free throws and take a shower. But how many of these kids are coached with a coach standing there and say, don't just shoot them, concentrate on making them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an art that can make such a difference in a game, even at the pro level.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much coaching they do.
Yeah, but it's working.
It sure is.
It absolutely is working. So this was Greg Gard. And, in the first hour, we were talking a little bit about Giannis and maybe kind of a throwback and an old school, a guy who does it the right way. Like, from a fan's perspective, what do we always want to see? Oh, that player that does it the right way or that right mindset. This was an interesting nugget about Max Klesmit, who was a transfer, but this was a clip from, this was actually, it was a couple days ago, but I just saw it on social media and I wanted to play it and just because I thought it was a cool story. I thought it was a really cool story.
I remember back to when NIL became a thing, and I sat down with Klesmet, and when this was all starting 2-3 years ago, and he said, "Coach, man, you just gave me an opportunity to wear the jersey. That's enough." And I wanted to get up and hug him and kiss him, but that how much it meant for him to come back and be here at home, and doesn't have the same meaning for everybody. And quite frankly, nationally, that is becoming less and less of a thing, and that started long before the portal.
So I thought that was just kind of a cool little story over there that Klesman didn't want any NIL. He's like, just give me the jersey.
And pales in comparison, we won't name names, to other guys that have left and have gone to schools only because of the money.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing. Klesmith but for so many of these, it's not being a student athlete anymore. They could care about the student part of it.
Right.
They just want to play basketball. And that's maybe why they transfer schools so much, because their grades are going to be bad. They go someplace else and they start over fresh with tutors and get these good grades they can play a year. But it's refreshing, like you said, to hear that story about Klesmith.
I mean, because what was it? Was it who was just said it in college football? I think Quinn Ewers said it again, but was it Shador or somebody? I guess I don't want to name, but they were honest about it, but they're like, yeah, we didn't go to college to go to school.
No,
play college
not.
football to go to school.
Yeah, and that's, and you think of a guy like, Dr. Crow that's on every Friday morning.
Mm-hmm.
He's a student athlete. And you hear other, years ago, very few, but you hear some. I think there was a Kansas City lineman. They first started winning the Super Bowl, played 1 year, and then he quit so he could go to medical school. I mean, there aren't many of those stories left. I mean, there are guys that, become engineers, use their student scholarship and opportunity for an education to worry about the rest of their life, not the 5 or 8 or 10 years that they're going to be playing ball. Now what am I going to do? I'm not qualified to do anything. Maybe, sell cars or sell insurance or, wherever they might be. I don't know. But now they're getting into doing podcasting and those sorts of things. But really and truly, student athlete isn't what it used to be.
There was Quinn Ewers, and he was actually quoting Cardale Jones from 2012, but it was so it was Quinn Ewers. He said it's like what Jones said. We didn't go to college to play school, and I didn't know this was Quinn Ewers. He apparently studied physical culture and sports, and I'm like, what the heck is that? So I looked it up. I had College of Education at the University of Texas at Austin. Physical culture and sports explores sport and exercise through a humanities social science approach. This program includes coursework in philosophy and ethics, sports law, sports history, the history of physical culture. The PCS program provides excellent preparation for graduate studies in sports management, sports history, sports study. I want this. I want to go back to school.
Do they say when they put that into the curriculum at the University of Texas?
I don't see it.
Because I'll bet that hasn't been in real long.
I want the sports history degree. Come on now, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
I want to go.
I mean, they create majors for athletes. Wisconsin has done it. Every school has done it. I'm not, it's not just Texas, but they create these curriculum. In other words, with Johnny Manziel, and I'm sure probably Quinn Ewers is saying, Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M never was on the campus outside of to play football and go to practice.
So I don't know if this is when it started, but they've got you could click on degree plans, kind of like a checklist, and it started. The first one on here is 2018.
There you go.
So
you talk about creating curriculum for athletes to get these guys into school. That's what it's all about. I mean, there's some of them, some of these schools, anybody can get in now because they create these kinds of curricula.
Physical culture and sports electives, sports psychology, would have loved that. Philosophy and leadership in sports. I mean, come on. Sports industry in America. Yes. Sports, fitness, and mass media. doing it now. Media and public relations in sports, coaching theory. Son of a gun.
Yeah. And that's probably, I don't know how many credits all that would be, but you can bet they're not spending a lot of time in the library.
No, it's 120 semester hours, 36 upper division, so it's a Bachelor of Science degree. This is why, again, Chancellor Jim or anybody at UW Clark, I want to teach a sports history class. That is my life goal yet.
Well, you know, there's no reason Division III schools can't put these in.
UW Green Bay knows
to improve their teams. You improve the crowds. I mean, you know, can be a snowball effect for some of these things.
Yeah, that's what.
I wonder if schools like Yale and Harvard have put in some of these things, because let's face it, they've got major teams, and you know, have they? I don't want to use the term dumb down their curriculum, so to speak, but put some of these things in to accommodate some of these athletes that, you know, it's just a different world.
Yeah, but that's one thing I want to do is, and I know UW Green Bay, and that's a Division I, but they have a Packer history class that they'll do sometime. I'm like, son of a gun.
Oh, sure.
I want to do that too.
Yeah.
So, but
I don't know. I don't remember if Madison University there has that kind of a curriculum in place. I mean,
I've heard of colleges like even having Star Trek history classes, and I'm like, well, come on.
Yeah.
So I'll ask this one more time because we only got one person right. We did a little trivia before you popped back in here because it was this day in 1983 that the USFL began that season. First draft pick in the USFL history. First draft pick.
1983. I'm trying to think who some of the.
Because there's a very popular name that a lot of people text in that is not right. That's a hint.
Obviously, a quarterback.
I think Surveyor Sam is the only one who got it right so far. So
really,
yep.
I can't give you the answer.
I'll tell you the answer after the break.
All right.
So give people a little bit more time to think and maybe cheat and look it up. So that's coming up, and then we'll talk some Brewers coming up after these quick words. Want to give a shout out. We've got state hockey, the championships starting today. ECA Stars for girls hockey going to be in action 7:30 tonight, taking on DC Everest. So best of luck. That's game 2. Game 1's at 4:30, where it's De Pere Co-op versus Sun Prairie West, and then boys hockey also beginning today. A little bit closer to us, you got Somerset St. Croix Falls. They're going to be in action at 1:30, taking on Amory. So that's in Division 2. Best of luck to everybody that's participating at state beginning today for hockey. So I know we got hoops, playoff hoops continuing. Boys just started this week. Girls are going to be getting close to finding out who's going to be advancing to state and such. I know gymnastics coming up next week. So busy time here in the winter prep season for sure.
And the nice thing about it, Mother Nature has gotten this stuff out of her system, so the roads are clear. So where you have to go to watch the kids play, the road should not be a problem.
Yep. All right, so you want to know the answer?
Yeah. 1983.
Was not Herschel Walker. That was the popular one. He was a signing. He signed. So he wasn't drafted. He was a free agent signing.
Oh, he signed with the New Jersey Donald Trump.
New Jersey Generals. The first pick never played in the USFL. Dan Marino was the first draft pick in the USFL. So
okay,
there you go. Surveyor was the only one who guessed Dan Marino. So nice job, Surveyor.
Absolutely, that a boy.
There you go. That's a trick question to ask somebody one of these days.
What are Herschel Walker's doing now?
I don't know.
He ran for the Senate in Georgia, of course, but that didn't work out real well for him.
Yep. Let's do some baseball here this morning. Yesterday we had split squad action for the Brewers taking on the White Sox. You had Tobias Myers getting a start in one, and then Freddy Peralta getting the start in the other. And both dudes, I know we kind of say don't take a whole lot away from these pitchers and such, but you look at what Tobias and Freddy Peralta did with their work yesterday, it was pretty impressive. Tobias Myers went 3 innings, no hits, no walks, striking out 3. Freddy Peralta, he went 3 innings, 2 hits, no runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts for strikeout Freddy. And then later on in that same game, you had Abner Uribe making his debut, touched 100 miles per hour coming out. Going to be a bullpen option there. So, I mean, you look at those again. I know it's spring training, but they're looking pretty good. Tobias Myers, so far throughout his 2 games of spring training, hasn't given up a run, hasn't given up a hit, struck out 4.
Hopefully, he can stay healthy.
You know, is he picking up where he left off last year? Maybe even taking up the next step. I don't know, but he's looking pretty darn good right now. I'm excited, and Jose Quintana's coming over. You got all these veteran starters. Is it that far-fetched to say that Tobias Myers could potentially be the best starter out of that group?
Well, we'll wait and see. About April 1st, when they kick things off, it's going to be fun.
Well, they kick off earlier than that.
Well, I know that. But I mean, for the whole season, basically. And that's why it's so much fun to get excited about Brewers baseball, because you can get out of Milwaukee and watch a game comfortably. They can play a game comfortably. They're not, banging, blowing on their hands. They can play the game because it's, football, a receiver needs their hands. But in baseball, everybody needs their hands. And I tell you, if you've got cold hands, anybody who's played, playing in the cold weather, you just can't get comfortable. And, oh, man, it's so much more fun to watch baseball when they can. Baseball is a warm weather sport. And it was no fun to watch Milwaukee baseball in early April. And like over in Minnesota, that's hard to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm excited to see this pitching staff. And again, if they could stay healthy, they went through 17 different starters last year, but they're very veteran heavy with Peralta, with Aaron Savale, Nestor Cortez, now Jose Quintana, Brandon Woodruff at some point. Then Tobias is the youngster of the group.
Do you think they're going to sign him like they did Peralta and Churio, try and beat the system, so to speak, and get him a long-term contract?
Could be.
Because after the way he came on last year before he got hurt, I mean, I watched him pitch, I think, his second start in Milwaukee. And I'm telling you what, he's good.
Mm-hmm.
If he can stay healthy.
And he's pitched in some big moments already last year, down the stretch and such. So I'm excited to see this group going. I still think, for a guy like Nestor Cortez who came over to trade and for signing Jose Quintana, I think the signing of Jose was smart, not because of he's a noted Brewer killer and we don't have to face him and such, but let's say the Brewers are not playoff caliber team by the trade deadline. You could ship him off because a contender will take him. He's a left-handed starting pitcher, and then you get a prospect in return. What do you have to lose?
That's right.
I don't think you have a whole lot to lose at that point. So I can't remember last time we had like this much veteran starters, top to bottom, Tobias being the outlier. We've had veteran starters, maybe a couple of them, but you're talking potentially 4 or 5 if you include Brandon Woodruff in that.
Mhm.
Guys who've been a starting pitcher for a few years.
Have we got a medical update on Brandon Woodruff from spring training?
Everything's good. It's just, they're still taking it slow and
He
such
hasn't
with him.
pitched in a game. He's done some batting practice, and
He's
that's
pitched
about
to
it.
Yelich, and BP and that, but I mean, there are no setbacks. So, I mean, you gotta feel pretty good about that. So, but yeah, again, hopefully they could stay healthy. And I think maybe part of it too was they looked at what happened last year going with 17 different starters. And then, they tried the Dallas Keuchel experiment. That didn't work. They traded for Aaron Savali, who's still on the roster. Frankie Montas, they traded for. He's with the Mets, and he's hurt now too. So at this point, if they are a contender and these guys are healthy, it sure seems like that would be something that maybe they don't have to look for at the trade deadline because they've got veteran starting pitchers already within this lineup. So maybe they can focus on another bat if they get to that point. I don't know, but countdown's on.
Optimism this time of the year is running high, and rightly so. I mean, they did a wonderful job last year winning that division so easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, again, opening day, they will begin on the road against the Yankees for opening day. Hopefully weather's fine in New York to get that done. But
that's what you're facing.
That's coming up on the 27th, which is just 21 days away, 3 weeks away from opening day.
They're gonna get the Yankees' best on opening day. Everybody's healthy on opening day, pretty much.
Might be going up against Devin Williams right away.
Yeah,
so
he's over there too.
I'm assuming Garrett Cole will be the starter for opening day.
Yep.
But Brewers are back at it tonight. Got a night game against the Athletics, and you're going to be able to listen to that one on the radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. So tonight's game will be on the radio if you want to take a listen to that one. I know we don't air all of them. It's not our decision. It's whatever the Brewers send us that, hey, this one's going to be on the radio. Regular season, of course. Spring training's a little bit different. So, but yeah, tonight's game will be up that you can listen to. So, you want to do a little extended receiver defer? You're busy making notes over there.
Yeah, it's up to you. You're flying the ship.
All right, let's take a quick early break, and then we can do a little extended receiver defer. And last call for any questions for Jake Boakes, our DNR warden buddy. Text those on over to us, 715-830-1912.
We're a little slushy for fishing here.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully you all got your shanties off last week when the deadline was there. So We also got some girls hoops in action tonight, and we'll find out after Saturday who's going to be going to state. But we've got tonight's guy. I got to imagine it's going to be a busy night for our friend Justice Cleveland and his crew, because we have a lot of local teams that are still in action. Eau Claire Memorial is going to be taking on Nina in Division 1. And then when you move on to Division 2, we've got Rice Lake in action taking on Lakeland. And then when we move on to, West Salem's in Division 2 over there too, if you want to go a little bit towards lacrosse. Division 3, Baldwin Woodville's taking on St. Croix Central. Elk Mound is taking on Wisconsin Dells in Division 3. Division 4, Colfax is taking on Durand, Arkansas. Cameron's taking on McDonald Catholic. And then Neilsville's taking on Aquinas in Division 4, and then Division 5. Solon Springs is taking on Eau Claire Emmanuel Lutheran. Owen Withy's in action, taking on Rib Lake. So a lot of our local Oliva Strum, I can't forget about Oliva Strum's taking on Blair Taylor. So a lot of local teams yet with just, you win today and you win Saturday, you're going to state.
Good deal. Good luck.
Yeah. Justice is probably going to be putting on a lot of miles covering some of these games.
I guess so.
Tonight there. So, but best of luck to all the girls teams. Girls hoops teams in action tonight too. So let's do some receive or defer. I'll defer to you. What do you got?
Well, first, this one I've been thinking about for a long time from a fan's point of view. Receive or defer. Just get rid of the NBA and NFL All-Star games. They take more grief over how they do it than if they just get rid of it. I know it's a financial deal, but I'm just thinking for the purity of the sports.
See, I've come to the it doesn't bother me because I view it more for Hudson loves it, kids love it, and I guess it doesn't bother me that much if the kids enjoy it.
Well, the kids like it. I'm not around kids to watch it, but if they enjoy it.
Yeah, like Hudson was all geeked up about Saturday night, and the only thing is that they've got to start it earlier on Sunday and not like 7:30 at night on a Sunday.
Well, that's a
if
good
you want the
point,
kids to watch it and all that. So, but I'm okay with it if we just change the mindset that it's for the kids. If you're still trying to get like adults, then get rid of it if that's the goal. If the goal is for kids, I don't care. They enjoy
if it is for kids, but it's for money.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have for money, you got to have adults to spend that money. So,
or dads spend it for their kids.
Yeah. But I think I'm feeling sorry. I don't know if that's the right term for the NBA leaders and NFL leaders. How do you make it better? Because the players, they want to be named all-stars, but they don't want to take part in it. Like the slam dunk contest, get rid of that. You got a guy that's not even in the league that's still involved in it. So it's a losing battle, I think, as far as the organizers. But if it's for the kids, that's fine. Receiver defer, and I watch this all the time. Minnesota basketball program is the most disappointing year in and year out of any program in the Big Ten.
The Gophers.
Yep.
I think I was actually talking to Luke about that last week. You look at Richard Pitino might have been a spot too early, when he was over there, coming fresh off of wherever he was at. Now he's not bad over, was it New Mexico State, at where he's at. Yeah, they can't seem to figure it out. And they can't seem to keep their kids. We talk about Wisconsin kids.
You talk about all the great players.
Yeah, you talk about Wisconsin kids. That was like the knock for a lot of Badger fans. They can't keep Wisconsin. You look at Minnesota, and they can't keep any of their kids in state. Wisconsin takes them, for crying out loud. So, I think I'd probably receive that.
I listened to people. I was listening to a Minnesota broadcast of the game because I was over that way, and they're talking about the tradition and the feeling of being able to play in the barn. And these guys are all 50, 60 years old. These kids want a modern facility.
18, 19-year-olds don't care about that.
No, they don't care about tradition.
Nope.
Madison, Wisconsin is a good example of that. The Kohl Center from the field house. An upgrade in facilities, an upgrade in talent, because the kids want to play in front of a big crowd with the boxes up there and everything else.
Even the locker rooms, you got to have that swagged out.
Right. Yeah. So, but anyway, and receiver defer, no major college basketball program has changed more for the better in the past few years than Wisconsin.
And when you say few years, you talking like 4 or 5? Or?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a lot of college programs to throw in. You know what? I might defer because I might throw in Alabama. Alabama's been up there in the last few years. Nate Oates has done a really good job. He's turned that over there.
Well, let me just say in the Big Ten.
Oh, Big Ten. Okay.
For Penn State is up
Consistency.
there this year, but they're not consistent. Wisconsin has made more changes. I mean, you were talking earlier about Badgers now the best free throw shooting team in the country.
Yeah.
How many years ago, they were horrible?
Ethan Happ was horrible. I mean, 2 years ago they were horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And then the style of play, they've gone from 50 points a game to 80 points a game. You're attracting kids in that want to play. That's how they've grown up playing. And I think a credit to the adaptability of the coaching staff, mainly guard, to recognize the fact that Bo Ryan, Dick Bennett's style of play isn't winnable anymore. Even Tony Bennett, he had that short run in the last couple of years before he retired. That program was going downhill with that style of play.
And I mean, it wasn't that long ago when, after the Badger season last year and all these guys were leaving and we're like, who is going to be on this roster? Who's going to play?
We were nervous about that.
And here they are, one game left to go, ranked 12th in the country, looking to be a 3 seed potentially in the NCAA tournaments.
With a limited budget.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think when you put it down to the Big Ten, yeah.
And I'd like to know how much money Alabama has for the transfer portal and NIL type things versus the budget Wisconsin has, because they're all different. And I don't know if they're going to put like a salary cap like the NFL has on some of these things, if that's coming down the road, or somebody's going to challenge that in court and say that's restraint of trade or whatever. I don't know how that's going to work, but I think for the tools Wisconsin has to work with, and the priority is for football, that's, that puts money in the coffers. There's no question about that. But basketball paying its own way. I think women's volleyball paying its own way. But you've got to be competitive, and you got to figure out a way to do it. And I think Greg Gard has done that.
He's got another 2026 kid coming over from New Zealand that's got experience already playing pro ball in college. I mean, you talk about Andy Reid, how he's adapted for as long as he's been. Again, Greg Gard, not putting him in the same category, but the adaptability in terms of how the game is right now. It's, going back to your other one with the Gophers, the other team I just thought of that I put in there is Indiana. Disappointing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Indiana's been a disappointment too, compared to Indiana's basketball country.
Yeah. So I'd throw. I mean, what does that tell you though too, that we kind of forgot about Indiana?
Really, what?
What does that tell you about the state of Indiana, that we kind of forgot about them? Like, because they're not relevant right now.
They're not at all. I mean, their coach not getting fired, but he's not coming back. He sees the handwriting on the wall. I don't know how that program is going to go, but they haven't been competitive.
I want to mention Greg Gard one more time, because Doug Gottlieb, who you hear him on the radio, and he's obviously at UW Green Bay, he had tweeted out late last night that Greg Gard is so much better than anyone ever gives the guy credit, ball coach. Going back to a few years when Bo Ryan was still coaching, Greg Gard was getting interviews for head coaching, and one of them was at UW Green Bay. I think UW Green Bay might be regretting that one.
Yeah. I don't know if they offer him the job.
No, they didn't. I don't think they did. I got to figure out who they hired.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all. But I'm not surprised. I know he was always looking for a head job, as any assistant coach after so many times on the bench next to the head coach. You want to have your own program, but I didn't know Green Bay was one of the ones he was looking at.
Yep. I'll do some research in the
everybody always said, and probably we've said it too, that at the time, is Greg Gard ready for this job at Madison, or should he go to a mid-major, a Miami of Ohio or Northern Illinois, and coach some of those places before he becomes all of a sudden a head coach in the Big Ten? Well, he's done pretty good.
Of course, I can't open that one. This was an article back in 2020. said guard interviewed for the UW Green Bay job in the past, and that was 2020. I don't know. Was Will Ryan the coach? I'll keep searching here. So.
But yeah, and you wonder about some of his coaches now that have been at Wisconsin for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
But
so it was 2010 when Green Bay interviewed him. This is actually from the UW Green Bay website. St. Louis University assistant Peter Moser, Missouri State's John Harris. Wednesday's interviews will be Brian Wardle, who was the UW Green Bay assistant. I think he's the one who got the job, and St. Norbert head coach Gary Jezik, and Greg Gard also interviewed for that too in 2010. So,
well, I'm glad he's at Madison. He's does a lot of good things, that's for sure.
Yep. So, all right, what else you got?
Well, one more, just real quick. We talked about a receiver defer. The Brewers still, and we talked about the pitching and hope. We're pretty confident and hopeful this pitching staff is going to be very sufficient. But the Brewers still need to find another bat to be considered a serious threat in the division. Because without that big bat, they're going to win games, but they're going to be too many games where the big bat's going to be needed.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd agree.
Yeah,
I'm still nervous about that.
so am I.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Although I don't think the Cubs are favored, but I don't think there's a team in that division that is a threat to do what the Brewers did last year, win by 10 games or whatever it was.
Yeah, there's I would say there's not that clear cut favorite,
No,
right? There's not that.
I don't see it.
I mean, heck, there's if you put like the Padres in this division, like I feel like the Padres would be a clear cut leader for and you look at the NL East with Phillies and Mets and throwing the Braves, you throw in one of those in this division, that one of those teams would be the clear cut favorite for the NL Central. But I just the Reds to me are an intriguing one because you got Terry Francona coming in, you got a lot of young talent in there. I know the fan graphs and the projections and all that are low on the Reds, but I feel like the Reds are going to be a sneaky team this year. Just bringing in Terry Francona will change, I think, a lot.
Oh, there's no question about it. And Gavin Lux coming in from the Dodgers, who is
Wisconsin native.
Yeah, but he's kind of I don't know, as far as the Dodgers were concerned, I think a disappointment because he was considered one of the top.
And maybe he will do better in a smaller market.
I was going to say, maybe he'll feel more comfortable in Cincinnati. Ellie De La Cruz is not going to hurt that team, that's for sure. So I don't know. I think the Brewers still need that bat, though, to be consistently on top of the division.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know who that is at this point. At this point, it might be a trade, and again, that might be something if they're in it. It's going to be a trade deadline acquisition. Okay, I got one. Receive or defer. So last week at the back end of the combine, there was a rumor that the Packers were talking with the Seattle Seahawks about a trade for DK Metcalf. Some sources, reporters downplayed it. Some confirmed it, but we don't exactly know what the truth is. And then yesterday, DK Metcalf apparently has now requested a trade from Seattle. Diana Rossini this morning is saying that Seattle wants a first round and a third round pick for DK Metcalf. Receiver defer, you would trade a first and a third for DK, plus give him a new contract that would be about $30 million per year.
I defer. I think he's a great player, but I don't think he deserves first and a third round.
That is a little rich.
Yes, it is.
That's a little rich for me. Deebo Samuel just got traded for a fifth round pick.
That's a good point because I was surprised at that he only brought a fifth round pick. But I'm also surprised Seattle expects they can get, you shoot high and then you don't want to start off by saying, well, we'll take a second and a fourth. We'll take a first and a third.
What if, I'm just going to play GM here. What if Goody called his buddy John Schneider, former De Pere native?
Yep. Packer worker.
Yep. I'll give you a third and Romeo Dobbs for DK.
Oh, in a minute.
I'd do that in a minute.
Oh, in a minute. I'd be gone. I'd be buying Romeo Dobbs, who's been a nice player, but no, I do that in a minute.
So.
Especially, and redoing that contract is a big part of it. That's taking some money, even though the salary cap's been increased. is still taking a chunk off the money that the Packers would have to use for free agents, and they need to sign some free agents.
Yep, that starts next week.
Yep.
I've got my hopes up, and I'm putting my hopes up, and I'm ready to be disappointed again if it doesn't. I've got high expectations for next week.
I'd be shocked. I mean, all I could think of was, Reggie White, free agent, and the Packers had never done free agents before and after.
Mm-hmm.
But Reggie White was a shock to me when the Packers got him in free agency, and whether they can get a guy like Miles, well, he's not a free agent, but some of these other guys that they can get, I don't know.
And, you factor in, I mean, the Bears have already made a couple trades to upgrade their offensive line. And the big one was Joe Thuney coming over from the Chiefs, who is an all-pro guard. So, I mean, you look at what the Bears, I mean, they're doing what they got to do. They got to improve their offensive line. They're making these trades and kind of makes their top 10 pick, opens it up what they could do a little bit more, what they want to do. So you'd look at that. You'd obviously know what Detroit, Minnesota was a playoff team last year. If you are, quote unquote, Goody, it's time we start competing for championships, as you say. Your champion, the way that you can help contribute for that is going to start next week with free agency opening up. What are you going to do? What part are you going to play to help your team compete for championships?
Well, that's what he said.
Yep.
We
I know,
gotta
that's what I'm
start,
saying.
gotta
And
compete.
that's got to start next week with free agency and bringing in some talent. They got money to do it, so I don't want to hear about money excuses.
No,
They got plenty that they can go out there and bring in some guys if they want.
And there's some guys out there, I haven't seen the full free agent list, but there are some guys out there that could help the Packers. And then the frustrating thing is to think they need that much help on defense with all the first-round draft choices they got on that side of the ball.
I hate it every time I say it. 4 first-round picks on the defense, and we're still talking about a need for that.
That's the frustration I have as well. And he keeps saying, as he's been saying for over a year, Van Ness is right there. He's going to break out. You watch him play, and it looks like he's still not sure what he should be doing. And so I don't know if the guy's ever going to make it as a first-round draft choice. But so far, he's been playing about like a fourth-rounder. Quay Walker, I don't know what he's ever going to amount to. It's frustrating, like you said, all those first-rounders, and their defense isn't any better than it is.
I know Joey Bosa was just released, and a couple people mentioned bringing – the only thing that would concern me is
he's hurt.
He's hurt a lot, and I know somebody mentioned bringing him in as a rotational player. I don't know if I want to I want somebody who's going to be on that field, right? If you're going to give him money, I want him on that field and being a wrecker. I think we need a wrecker, not another rotational player.
I agree with you.
I want that. I know I'm greedy, but come on now. I want a championship. I don't want to finish last.
Well, I'm sure that's why but the Chargers released him, because he's not consistent.
Yeah. I know he played 14 games this past year, but before that, 9, 5, and he's entering his 10th year too.
Yeah. But they need help. I mean, Kenny Clark, not getting any older, his production is dropping significantly. I don't know if it's because he's not getting any help or if he's just declining in his talent that much. But there's room for improvement on that side of the ball. Hopefully they can get it in, a couple of free agents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So high expectations for next week. I really have it, and I'm ready to be hurt. We'll see. All right. Bears signing somebody else too, a backup tight end. Man, Bears are just
they're active.
Out
they're
there
active
right now. All right. 2 in, 1 more to go. We'll be back after these news updates. Final call for any questions for Jake Boakes coming up at about 8:30. Final hour for this Thursday morning coming at you. About 25 minutes. We'll catch up with DNR Warden Jake Bulks answering your questions for our outdoor chats this morning. Talked a lot about a little bit of Giannis in the first hour. Giannis becoming the sixth, the youngest player to eclipse the 20,000 career point mark in the win last night for the Bucks. Bucks currently in that fourth spot in the Eastern Conference standings, and we're essentially 3/4 of the way through the regular season right now as we enter this final stretch run of the regular season for the Bucks. Bucks 11 games above 500, so 61 games into it. Yeah, we'll call it three-quarters of the way through the season. 8-2 in their last 10, 4 wins in a row. Half game lead over the Pacers for that fifth spot. 2 games now over Detroit for that sixth spot. It kind of goes into tiers here. I mean, Cleveland's already clinched his playoff spot, which probably isn't too big of a surprise. Shocker, right? They've already clinched the playoff berth. They're the only team that's clinched the playoff berth already. But they're 8 games ahead of Boston, who's in second. I mean, the gap is there. Then you got New York in the 3 spot. And then it's Milwaukee, Indiana, Detroit kind of all fighting for that 4th seed at this point. And then you've got the group of Miami, Orlando, Atlanta, and Chicago fighting for positioning in the play-in tournament. So, I mean, at this point, when it comes to finishing out this final quarter of the regular season, I think my biggest concern right now is, can they just stay healthy? You know, we're going to get Portis back for the last couple games of the season and get the rust off of him a little bit and such. And when he is back, I think he is going to be a part of that rotation, even though they are playing well right now without him. But I think the biggest thing here is you got to, 2 things. I'd like to see this Bucks team at least get the 4th seed so they get a home court first-round series.
How far are they out of 3?
4 games behind the Knicks. So at least get that. But the biggest thing, too, is they got to be healthy for once heading into this postseason. I mean, the last couple of years, they've been banged up with their main players. And
well, that was Chris Middleton.
Yeah, and Giannis last year.
Well, yeah, that's true.
You know, Giannis wasn't playing last year, so it's like, geez, can they just finally stay healthy for once and getting in there? And because we never really got that good gauge last year with no Giannis and Dame's first year with Milwaukee, and even Dame was hurt, you know, and he still played, but he was hurt during the postseason, and they went up against a team that exploited their weaknesses with Indiana. You know, it was just kind of a worst case scenario and they might right now, playoff start, they would play Indiana again the first round. So, yeah, I think it's health, just making sure that health is the biggest factor coming into this. If this is the way they're playing when they get to the postseason, I think they could be that team that maybe nobody wants to play.
I was going to say, this is a different team than they had last year, obviously. And I don't think, I think they can sneak up on some people. I really do. You know, Kuzma and Porter, some of these other guys that are coming in new, they've been around the league. But with the Bucks now, with Giannis and Dame and Brook Lopez, I think they can put how deep do you think their bench will be? I can't see it going past 8.
No, I don't see it going past 8 either. I mean, if we just kind of look at it from the last couple of games here, I mean, I think we know the starting 5 going forward. I know a lot of people have been kind of talking about, is this what it's going to be? I think we know it. It's Prince, it's Giannis, it's Kuzma, it's Lopez, and Dame. That's kind of what it's been like, and I think that's what's working. That's what they're going to roll with. Kevin Porter Jr., AJ Green, and when Portis is back, I think you're your next 3 coming off the bench.
I think so. I can't see going Turner. I can't see too many of those guys getting any time unless somebody gets in foul trouble or something like that, where they got to come in and play 2 or 3 minutes to the end of a quarter or give up a foul, something like that. I don't see meaningful minutes for over 8 guys.
You know, AJ Green last night, 6 of 9 from 3. He's been a nice surprise, I think, you know, for this year for the Bucks too. So,
but there's always a time in the playoffs where a game or 2, you need a guy like that hasn't been in the rotation and all of a sudden throws a curve into the opponent, you know, because you play a best of 7 and you've got the same guys all the time. All of a sudden, the other team gets pretty up on how to play those 8 guys. Well, all of a sudden you throw a Green in there and he can give you a 6 out of 9. That really throws a wrench in their defense. And so you need a guy like that not on a regular basis in the playoffs, but you always look, there's always a guy on one of those teams that goes deep into the playoffs that doesn't play a lot, but when he's come in, he's made a big difference. He's kind of like the defense on the other team hasn't practiced for him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always interesting going forward to see who those players are. And I don't know who that will be on the Bucks. Maybe it's Green. I don't know.
Yeah. But stay healthy. And that's the thing too, is like, if they're going to be in this battle for playoff positioning, how it currently is in the final quarter of the season, there might not be a lot of opportunities to get some time off for Giannis, for Dame, for some of their veterans, because it is going to be a short rotation. It is going to be a short bench, especially when you get to the postseason. So if you're going to be in that battle for positioning, it's going to be something to kind of watch too with the stamina of these guys.
It is, and we talk about criticizing this load management all the time. And during the regular season, it is frustrating to see these guys taking off for, you don't know because you're not in the locker room, but it's just too much now. But in the playoffs, there's more playoffs now than there used to be.
Yep.
So these guys didn't have to play as long years ago, and there's more games to play. If you're going to go through the whole playoffs all the way through the championship series, that's a lot of games. And, does a guy tweak an ankle and have to take some time off because of the intensity of it so that they can come back and still play a lot of playoff basketball that's ahead? So it's a different animal. It's frustrating during the regular season, but in the playoffs, sometimes you can understand how maybe a guy has to sit just a normal season. Maybe he might play, but in the playoffs, you got to get him healthy for the rest of the playoffs. So he might miss a game or two. So there's still a lot of strategy in it.
Oh yeah, I mean, ever since they went to the 7-game series to open up, it used to be 5 and even smaller before. Wasn't it? I don't remember what it was, but yeah. So I mean, you're talking about potentially teams going 6-7 games in each series leading up to the finals.
Yeah, that's a lot of basketball, and that's pretty intense. And when you play against the same team for 7 games, it can get a little crusty. It really is.
Yeah. So Bucks, they're going to be, where did it go? Looking at, as they start the final quarter of the regular season, they've got the Magic coming up on Saturday. So a couple days off here for the Bucks after going back to back with the Hawks and Mavericks. And you look at the upcoming schedule here for the Bucks. You've got Orlando Saturday. That's going to be in Milwaukee, and then a huge game on Sunday, home against Cleveland. Be a nice litmus test to see how well this team actually is. Maybe playing against, one of the best. And then you go on the road to Indiana, and you're back home against the Lakers, a team who's playing well.
Do you think there'll be many people in the stadium, in the Pfizer Forum for that?
Maybe a few.
Wow, you talk about 3 of the best.
Well, look at this is the rest of their schedule. So Orlando Saturday, Cleveland, Indiana, Lakers, Indiana, Oklahoma City, Golden State, Lakers.
Whoa, there's not a gimme in there.
No.
Not a gimme in there. Man, that's tough.
And even after that last leg, they got at Sacramento, at Phoenix, at Denver, the Knicks. I mean, yeah, that's going to be an interesting stretch.
That's a pretty rough road to hoe.
Yeah.
Wow.
So for as well as they're playing, I guess we'll find out if that can continue. Good. I'm glad, though, in this final – little battle tested, get a little playoff ready for this, and then when the season first started, the schedule first came out, probably didn't think too much of it. Their final 2 games, it's a home and away. Pistons. That could determine some seedings.
Pistons are getting better. Pistons aren't Pistons anymore.
No, they're just 2 games back from the Bucks. So that could determine some seedings.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, definitely. Luckily, these Cleveland's at home, Lakers are at home. One of the 2 against the Pacers are at home. Oklahoma City's at home. So, I mean, a lot of home games. Then they go on that West Coast trip where it's at Golden State, at the Lakers, at Sacramento, at Phoenix, and then at Denver. So from March 18th to 26th, they're all going to be on the road and in the West Coast. So we'll see.
That's a tough schedule.
Yep. See if they can make some noise. And hey, that's a chance for them too to either gain some confidence before they head to the postseason, or maybe lose some confidence.
And the trick is to stay healthy.
Texter just asked, we just talked about this in the right before 8. Would you take a chance on Joey Bosa? I know. I'm gonna pass on Joey Bosa.
Depends on the money.
Yeah.
Can't pay him a lot of money.
I was just reading too. It sounds like the 49ers are favorites. His brother's
Play
over
with
there.
his brother.
Yep. So, but a lot would depend on money.
And I'm sure, living in LA with the Chargers, he wants to stay in California.
Mm-hmm.
So, chances are better for Joey Bosa or the receiver from Seattle.
DK?
Yeah, Metcalf. I'd like to see him come.
Yeah.
But
not for a first and a third.
No, not for a first and a third. And the big contract that he's going to get.
$30 million at least.
Yeah.
$30 million per year. DK or Devontae?
DK.
So you'd have to trade.
Yeah.
Devontae's a free agent.
Yeah.
And probably cheaper.
But how much younger is DK Metcalf?
DK's 28, but Devontae still hasn't shown any signs of slowing down.
But what is he, 31, 2?
32.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, I'd be satisfied with either one of them.
Yeah.
But if we can only get one, I think.
So is it to the point like, just give us somebody?
Yeah, God, we need somebody. That's right. I mean, the thing is Christian Watson, what a shame.
Yeah.
That guy, I don't know what kind of a future he's got in the league. Who's going to want to extend a contract to him? Because, he's going to get hurt.
Well, and he was healthy up until that ACL. He had turned a corner this year, it seemed like, and then the ACL injury. So it's the timing wise, it sucks too for him personally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I think he's been a good receiver when he could play.
Yeah.
Very well satisfied with his performance on the field. It's just you feel sorry for a guy like that, just can't stay healthy. And these aren't just little tweak injuries. These are you just can't play with what he's had.
So to the Bosa one, how about this? The two teammates, Khalil Mack or Joey Bosa?
Khalil Mack coming out too?
He's a free agent.
How long has Khalil Mack been around? I mean,
Khalil Mack. So Joey Bosa is going to be 30 when this season starts.
Yeah.
Khalil Mack is 34, so he'd be the same age when the Packers signed Julius Peppers. However, Khalil Mack has been more healthy than Joey Bosa the last few years, and more productive.
Packers have to do a better job investigating some of these other free agents. I think about Zach Bond, linebacker at Philadelphia. I mean, my goodness, they got him for a song.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the kind of guys that I like to see him come up with. Find some of these guys that are out there. It's just Van Ginkel at the Vikings. Both of them were University of Wisconsin players. And I don't think they get enough credit because these players from these national championship teams or the contenders are given all this play. Well, they're playing around other all-pro players or all-American players, rather. Bond and Van Ginkel didn't play with linemen that got drafted and are playing in the NFL, and they were very accomplished college linebackers. I don't think they get the credit at the college level. I mean, you look at the guys from Wisconsin, they're in the league at the linebacker position, they're in that front seven. They're playing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I that's the kind of guys whether they're from Wisconsin or not, irregardless. But I'd like to have the Packers deep dive into some of these guys that maybe are underserved by the teams they're playing, and you give them a chance like Philadelphia and the Vikings gave those two guys. Man, they were top players on their teams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Bond.
Well, they kind of did with Devondre Campbell. The one year he actually performed well. Everybody was like, "Who's that guy?" Then he was named All-Pro.
Yeah, well, you got to find those guys, and keep them healthy.
Mm-hmm. And I think when we look at some of these potential free agents out there, I do think you have to look at, have they been available to play? Have they been, because if there's one thing we can maybe assess on how Goody has gone about free agency, he has looked at guys and their history of, have they been able to play? When they signed Za'Darius and when they signed Preston, those were guys that were on the field all the time. Xavier McKinney, same thing, on the field all the time. So I think that does factor into a lot of decisions from Goody when you look at it, is like, okay, are these, and the other part in this too, if this is true, if they're that frustrated about Jair Alexander not being on the field because he's been hurt,
I'm just going to make that comment.
Would they go out there and sign a free agent like a Joey Bosa, who, yes, this past year played 14 games, but the 2 years before that, 14 combined. I have my doubts that they'd
No,
be
I
interested
don't.
in that.
I don't want Joey Bosa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he costs too much money, and he's too much of a question mark at this point in his career. He's been good, and at times he was great, but I think those days are behind him.
Yeah. So I think that is going to factor into a lot of these decisions for Green Bay. So, but Monday is going to be fun. Monday is going to be fun.
Oh, is it ever? It'll be
Monday
fun to
afternoon.
watch what they do. Yep.
There's either going to be a lot of happy fans in the first couple of days, or really like, what's taking so long? Why aren't we making any moves? That's going to be going out there. So, I'm like you though. I honestly would be shocked if they didn't do anything.
I would think they have to. I mean, Gutekunst as much as said that,
And
we've got it's time to start winning championships. You're not going to do it with the guys you got on the field now.
And it's a nice narrative change, isn't it? Because what the joke was for a lot of those beat writers, they'd take that week off with Ted Thompson because they knew they wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I think it was actually our good buddy Rob said that'd be vacation because they knew they weren't doing anything that first week of free agency. Can't say that anymore. And I still think Goody kind of gets lumped into that category, and he's not. He's gone out there and spent.
Yeah, no, I hope he does again because he knows what we need. I mean, it's not like it's going to be a surprise. He knows what we need to improve that defense, and he's got a lot of holes. I mean, after you watch that playoff game, this offensive line is no great shakes either. You're pretty fragile in the offensive line. You've got to upgrade that. So, that's why you give the Bears credit. They went out and got two pretty good guards here in the last few days.
Mm-hmm.
And, what are the Packers waiting for?
Depth-wise. Because, they were healthy all season up until that game.
But that just showed we had no backups.
That's why I just said depth.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
no, that's what we need. We need more than 5 offensive linemen. You got to have 7 or 8, and maybe some on the taxi squad or whatever they call that. But they've got some holes to fill.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, we'll take a break and we'll have Jake join us. Appreciate everybody sending questions. If you didn't get them in, well, you got to wait till next time. So send those on in for next time. Quick break. Jake will join us here in just a few minutes.
The Dan Kasper Show will be right back.
If Culligan isn't treating your home's water, you likely have water problems all around you, like hard-to-clean, chalky residue on your shower, faucets, and bath, stains around your sink drains, spots on your dishes and glassware, plus dull, dried-out hair and skin, and problems you don't see, like scaly buildup in the water heater and pipes. But have no fear. You're in the clear with Culligan Products and Service. For all your residential and commercial water filtration needs,
visit CulliganH2O.com for your local Culligan water dealer.
Noble Gold Investments alert. Gold has surged 46% in less than a year, doubling the gains of the NASDAQ and S&P 500. But this isn't just another rally. Investors are losing confidence in paper gold and demanding physical metal, creating a massive gap between gold owed and gold available. But this isn't about how institutions broke another system. It's about how you can profit from it. Right now, Noble Gold Investments has a limited supply of investment-grade gold bars and coins available. As banks scramble to fulfill their obligations, pushing gold prices higher, you can profit. Smart investors are already moving into physical gold. Noble Gold Investments makes it easy for you to do the same. And right now, when you make a qualified investment, Noble Gold will add a free 10th-ounce gold coin to your order. Don't wait until it's too late. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com now and turn their panic into your profit. NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
I love the way he balances the grocery cart on its back wheels every time we reach the dairy aisle.
It's never what you expect.
It's like clockwork. He looks so focused and serious while he's doing it.
It's rarely the same thing twice.
like a kid practicing a trick he's been refining for months.
And it's always magical.
At Lasker Jewelers, we've started thousands of conversations with customers by asking,
Tell me what you love about him.
The way he grins when he manages to hold it steady for a few seconds.
and once we know
We can show,
the perfect piece for him, he'll love. That's the Lasker way.
and for 100 years, it's made Lasker's the easiest place to shop for diamonds and jewelry in America.
My sister and I are humbled that people from around the world have come to our family's stores
To buy just the right one.
for just the right one.
Now I understand it's his little ritual.
I'm Nicole.
And I'm Liz.
Before you ask her,
Lasker.
Today's job market is full of demand for skilled trade workers. Electricians, welders, mechanics, these and other trades are the backbone of every community. They're also a huge part in making sure the Army National Guard is always fulfilling its mission of service to our country and communities. Soldiers train to keep the power flowing, engines running, and supplies moving. The skilled trades these soldiers perform are the same ones needed in today's civilian workforce. Army National Guard soldiers are on the fast track to learning skills that can set them up for success at home with companies looking to hire the best. With options from plumber to helicopter mechanic and everything in between, soldiers are able to select the trades that best fit their lives. Their resumes are being built through their paid training and part-time service. Find out how you too can learn a trade profession and serve your community and country by visiting NationalGuard.com. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard, aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is the year. Finally, you have a shoreline to put a dock on. Or maybe it's time to scrap that old repair every year dock. Good, because there's never been a better time to see the complete line of Hewitt docks, lifts, and pontoon legs. With an aluminum roll-a-dock or boat lift, your maintenance chores are over. A&D Docks has a roll-a-dock to suit any shoreline with sectional and floating docks too. Come check out the complete Hewitt line at A&D Docks in Cornell or visit addocks.com for Hewitt Docks.
Your tax refund just came in. Now, what if you could turn it into something that you will enjoy every single day? At Carpet City Flooring Center, you can. Upgrade your home with beautiful, high-quality flooring, whether it's a new carpet in the bedroom, new luxury vinyl planks for the living room, or remodeling your shower with some amazing new tile. Carpet City Flooring Center has so many different options for you to choose from, and your tax refund makes it easy and affordable. And remember, Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire will match or beat the competition. Why spend it on something you'll forget about in a month? Invest in your home and enjoy the comfort and style for years to come. Visit Carpet City Flooring Center today at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire, where the team is ready to help you transform your living or workspace with some amazing new floors. Turn your tax refund into something truly rewarding this year with the help from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire, where their prices will floor you.
No two people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you, all of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Keith is a be in the room with real people kind of learner. So he loves the live online classes with our language experts.
Okay, class. Vos está pronto.
Estamos prontos.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Try Babbel for free at babbel.com, BABBEL.com.
Thanks for listening. And thanks for checking out our live stream on YouTube and Facebook. And thanks for not mentioning that spot on Dan's shirt.
Barbecue stain on my white t-shirt.
I guess that's why he never wears white.
You can't handle the truth.
The Dan Kasper Show.
Bring 'em out, bring 'em out. Bring 'em out, bring 'em out. Bring 'em out, bring 'em out. Bring 'em out, bring 'em out.
We got picks and predicts coming up in about 15 minutes or so, but it is Thursday, 8:30, which means it's time to catch up with our good buddy, Mr. Jake Boakes, Conservation Warden for the state of Wisconsin. Well, first off, Jake, you didn't send me any pictures last week, so I'm assuming you didn't catch anything fishing?
Yeah, nothing worth taking a picture of.
Well, you're not doing it right then. I mean, come on, you got to have that fish right up close to the camera, right? The old wise, the old guys would always do that.
Yeah, you push it way out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, we caught some fish, but just nothing to write home about. But any day going on the river, being in that topography and just getting out there is always a fun day. So it was nice. There's still a lot of ice on the river, and then the water temps are pretty cold still, and I probably haven't warmed up much after this last couple of days.
No, yeah, you're right.
Jake, what have you heard for the ice fishing this year? I've talked to a lot of ice fishermen and said they haven't really been biting this year. Is that isolated, or what are you hearing?
I think that's probably preference on where they're fishing or how they were fishing. I've definitely talked to plenty of guys that had a good year.
Good.
There was enough ice where people were able to get to different spots. In fact, people were on the Mississippi with trucks this year, which I would never do anyways. But then there wasn't too much where like all these lakes up north or this or that are getting frozen out. So, some people, get skunked a day or two. I think that's just fishing. But overall, I'd say it was probably a pretty successful winter fishing season, actually.
All right. Well, speaking of a little fishing, we have another Jake, our good friend Jake from State Farm, had a question for you, asking, what are the perch limits for the Eau Claire River from Lake Eau Claire down to Lake Altoona, and what is the limit from the Altoona Dam down to the Chippewa River along the Dells Dam and down? Man, he's really specific on that.
Yeah, so they're good questions because it is different regulations. The place I would start, just like every week, I would say jump in the regulations pamphlet. Page 38 is the page for Eau Claire, and it breaks it down what each section is for like special rivers, for special regulations. But the short answer is, if you're coming from Big Falls down to Lake Altoona, that is the Eau Claire River, and that is considered just a general inland fishing. So you follow all the general inland fishing regulations. So 25 perch. And where the lake starts and where the river begins, or vice versa, is the high line. So like that boat launch off of North Shore. Maybe not North Shore, what is it over there? But anyways, there's kind of like some high lines that go across the river. It's kind of used as the boundary between lake regulations and river regulations. So upstream of Lake Altoona, 25 perch. On Lake Altoona, you can only have 10 perch. The regulation is 10 panfish may be kept. So, you could have 8 perch and 2 crappie or any combination thereof. But if you're just strictly perch fishing, it's just 10 perch on Lake Altoona, and that goes all the way to the dam. And then below the dam, it's back to 25 perch, because that's considered just kind of your general inland regulations, with a caveat of just that area is open year round for fishing.
Good stuff.
So a lot of talking there. The big thing again is grab the regulations, because it breaks it down. Like I'm looking here on the Eau Claire River, it breaks it from the Eau Claire River, from the Altoona Lake Dam downstream, upstream to the Eau Claire Dam, from the Eau Claire Dam downstream. So it really breaks it down on what fish there are.
Jake, I know last week we talked about, there was this stuff trending on Facebook about potentially price increases and such. And this is not necessarily related to that, but this is something I've been seeing on Facebook and social media this week too. And I think it was from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, the potential for this upcoming hunting season, the Wisconsin deer hunting season, with deer management units, mostly for, I think it's the northern part of the state. Have you seen stuff like that across Facebook and such?
Yeah, I've just seen it the same place that everyone else has seen it, on different social medias or media channels. I haven't received any internal guidance or anything saying like that's a go or it's likely to happen or not likely. Everything is, like you just said, been online. But from what I understand, or from what I've seen, it affects all the forested zones. So that would include like the Central Forest Zone, which is eastern Eau Claire County, Jackson, Clark, that area. So it could have a potential impact down here if that is all approved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that because I was looking at that too. That kind of would affect my area over in good old Taylor County over there too. So yeah, definitely curious when that comes out.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Like I said, I haven't heard anything from our wildlife folks or legal or anything. It's all been through the outdoor news or social media, or like you just said, the Milwaukee Journal.
Mm-hmm. So like when stuff like that happens, Jake, I mean, how much like studying and, like, okay, now I got to learn about this and try to, memorize it. I mean, that's got to be kind of a lot of stuff to always be adjusting on the fly every year for some potential rule changes and such.
Oh yeah. I mean, and rules, we try to keep up as best we can, just like the public. The rules are always changing. I mean, Clark County went back to no baiting this month, and everything like that. So it's like, boom, there's another change. But, I proactively try to keep up with, this kind of stuff that we're talking about because, it's a general, a lot of people like to converse about it in the public. But as far as professionally, until something is enacted, signed into a law, or an emergency rule which puts it into law, until something like that happens, it's not official. So I don't really worry about it too much in my work world, but I just keep up with it, for conversation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Hey, speaking of hunting, I know this just opened up on March 1st, but if anybody's interested, the application period for that elk hunt opened up, right? So, I mean, you can select between, is it the Black River Elk Range or the Clam Lake one?
Yep.
Those two?
I think I don't have it up in front of me, but I believe they are changing the names in case you see that.
Okay.
I think they're going to call it the Northern Range or the Northern Herd, and like the Central Herd or Central Range, something to that effect. Just because the elk have expanded out of those, geographical boundaries. So when you say Clam Lake Herd or when you say the Black River Herd, a lot of times, or the Jackson County, a lot of times they're moving out of those areas, and I just think I don't know if it's optics or what, but they're kind of changing the term so you don't think Clam Lake and then you're hunting 2 hours to the north or east or west, whatever. So yeah, you can put in for those, and I don't know if it was approved for this year or it'll be next year, but they are going to come out with a cow quota, and I think it's going to be like 4.
Okay.
So, and that qualifies for your once in a lifetime hunt.
Okay.
So if you end up drawing a tag, there's a potential you draw a cow tag, and that's, you'll never draw another tag again for a bull or anything like that. So if you're putting in this year, definitely slow down before just clicking and donating your $10 or putting in your $10, because there could be some real specific buttons you want to pick on. If you don't care if you shoot an elk, or excuse me, a cow, you just have the opportunity. That's awesome. Go for it for sure. I think that'd be pretty cool to shoot any sort of elk in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be down for that at least. But if you're a hunter that's like, nope, if I'm going to do it, it's going to be a bull, then you really want to make sure. Because again, I don't know if it's this year or if it might be next year, but I know that's in the works.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely. That would be cool. That's one of my goals. I still want to go elk hunting in Wisconsin. So
that would be, when I saw him on maybe I told you guys this story a couple weeks ago, but when I saw him on the interstate, I was just like, gosh, that's crazy. It's still weird to think he can just drive. I drove down to Wisconsin Rapids for a day, or Wisconsin Dells for a day, and it's crazy to think you can just see elk hanging out on the side of the road in Wisconsin.
I know.
Yeah, I saw that Black River Herd a while. Oh, it's been a few years ago now. But going across the road, it's just deer or elk after elk after elk. It was breathtaking.
It's awesome. It's such a unique experience. The
Yeah,
only time
it
I've
is.
ever seen them like that is when I was out in Colorado skiing, and it's, they're just hanging out in people's backyards. And I thought back then too, like, how crazy would it be? Just you wake up, you look outside. Usually we see a doe or a fawn, but now you're seeing cow elk or a bull in the fall. It's crazy.
Hey, Jake, I know I saw a news or a release from the DNR saying, bear dens, if you see any or you find any to let the DNR know and such. And actually, I saw a friend of mine on Facebook last week saw a bear getting out of the den. It was like next to the road coming out of, a field. It must have been a culvert or something like that. So, I mean, have you been hearing more about, bears kind of starting to come out of hibernation at this point in time?
Oh, yeah, all the water, especially last week with all that water melting, all that snow melting, a lot of, I think more and more bears are figuring out like culverts are a great place to go. And so between, holes at the bottom of farm fields that they dig and culverts, those places get flooded out pretty quick. So it pushes them out, and then they kind of stand around and go, what the heck? And then everyone sees them. So the DNR is asking, you can call the local biologist. That's a way to report it. But I would encourage everyone just to Google like Wisconsin DNR bear den and just follow the links. There's multiple news stories that have links to a survey. So there's nothing like I can put in for it. Like the easiest and most efficient way to do it. And, we appreciate everyone helping out and reporting it. The most efficient way to do it is just to follow the link and go to the survey. And it's a quick little survey saying, when, where, what did you see? And that's a good way to get that data in. Otherwise, DNR staff might not be able to enter it appropriately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of, it was a really cool video. I mean, and it looked like, you're sleeping for that long in hibernation, you're kind of out of it a little bit. So it was, I think, still trying to get its bearings, figured out.
For sure.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jake. I was gonna ask. I know last week, it was the deadline to get ice shanties off. Did you run into any issues? Hear any stories about any people getting stuck out there or anything?
Yeah, there's a couple guys that I had some conversations with on Friday and Saturday, saying it's time to get it off, and whether they weren't aware of the deadline or they forgot or they were out of town. There's one individual that was in Florida, so he had to work with some friends to get that thing off. So there were some people. It's always a good, a good reminder when you start thinking spring to start looking into some different stuff. If you got shacks on the ice, you always got to be aware of when they got to be removed, and even more importantly, if you got shacks on the ice, whether it's a $100 plywood pop up you made, or a nice $50,000 ice castle, you got to have your name, DNR customer ID info, or a phone number and address. You have to have something on there that identifies it. And I ran into a few problems with that, with people that failed to identify it or let the sun fade it away, so I couldn't give them a call. And if I have to track you down, it kind of changes my discretion on, what comes of that violation.
Mm-hmm. I like how you put that too, by the way. That was very professional. So, Jake, I know next week's going to be a busy time when we catch up with you too, because when we catch up with you next week, after that's a few days, spring turkey bonus tags are going to be on sale too. So that's a good reminder. People, set your alarms on your phones.
They will be. Yeah.
So
it's coming. Spring's coming. I think it's going to be 60 plus degrees on Monday. So, we might have just witnessed the last hurrah here. So
don't jinx it, dude. Don't jinx it, man. Come on.
Well, if we get snow, it'll melt quick just like this will. So I think spring's a coming. So start preparing.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jake. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, get them boats registered and start buying licenses.
Good idea with the boat registration. That's a good reminder. Hey, dude, we appreciate it as always, man. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll catch up with you next week. Okay, bud?
Yeah, sounds awesome. Always fun. Thanks, guys.
You got it. There you go. Jake Boakes, DNR warden for the state of Wisconsin. Let's take a quick break and pick some predicts as we wrap up this Thursday morning. Coming up after these quick words. Wrapping things up this morning with some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. Again, reminder, you can pre-register, pre-sign up for our bracket challenge. You can just go to sportstalk1051.com, click on the Fan Cave tab, scroll down at the bottom, and boom, you can sign up. And then as soon as the brackets are released, you can start to make your selections. Let's take a look at the NBA schedule for tonight for just a couple of picks. We've got Houston at New Orleans. It's slim pickings tonight, man. So,
well, Zion Williamson's back playing. I saw that the other night. I don't know if he's making much of a difference, but I'm going to take New Orleans.
I'm gonna go Rockets. We'll do the Knicks at the Lakers.
Ooh, boy. The Big Easy versus LA. Boy. Is Karl Anthony Towns playing? He was out for some personal reasons. I don't know if he's back or not. They didn't know if he was going to make this West Coast swing with him, with the team.
Let me see if I can find out.
But if he's not playing, then I'm definitely taking the Lakers.
He's not listed on the status report, so I'm going to assume that he's playing.
Okay, because I know they talked about he was out for some personal reasons. What they were, I don't know. But the other night, they didn't know if he was going to make the West Coast trip. I'm going to take the Lakers at home.
I
think they've got some momentum.
So I'm just reading a little bit about Karl Anthony Towns.
I don't know if it was a family issue or...
Yeah, it wasn't. There's some thoughts like his girlfriend apparently tweeted something, blank cancer, the N-word.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's...
Yeah, he had a tough go with his family during COVID. I feel sorry for him, lost his family members during COVID. So I'm sure he's very sensitive to health issues.
Yep. Karl Anthony Towns was on the floor Tuesday, and his absence wasn't okay. When asked if he'd be available to face LeBron and Luka, Tom Thibodeau said to leave the Knicks star to leave him alone for some time. When he's ready to come back, obviously we want him back, but he needs some time right now. So maybe he's not playing tonight.
Yeah. So that's the impression I got the other night, that they were skeptical on him going west.
I'm gonna go Lakers. We'll do one more. Philly. No, that's not. It's Indiana at Atlanta.
Indiana.
Yeah.
Although I'm hoping Atlanta wins.
I'll go Pacers too. So we do have some college basketball. I mean, nothing really big of no. I mean, we got Michigan State at Iowa tonight. Michigan State's already clinched at least a share.
And I think Iowa has been very disappointing. I don't know if they're that lack of talent this year or lack of performance, but I can't see them beating Michigan State, even if they are at home.
Yeah, I'm going Michigan State.
Iowa's just been disappointing this year. Iowa is what I expected Wisconsin might be this year, and the performance and the record level, but their talent has not lived up to what it has been in the past years. They've had some great players, great teams down there, but this year they're really lacking.
Last night though, we had some really good college games. Maryland took down Michigan 71-65.
Yeah, I was watching part of that too.
Florida took down Alabama, two teams in the top 10. So Florida maybe inching closer to getting a 1 seed after that win against Alabama. We had Texas Tech dominating Colorado, Missouri losing to Oklahoma. Missouri ranked 15th in the country. Marquette falling to UConn, and then the big one from last night, Ole Miss taking down number 4 Tennessee. So
Marquette's, can you say that been disappointing so far this year? Is that the perception? Because I did not expect them to be losing as many games as they've been losing, because they were ranked pretty high early in the season, and they're just not losing one game. They're losing 2, 3, 4 at a time.
I don't trust them when it comes to tournament time now.
No, I don't think you can.
And I know the bracketology hasn't been updated since yesterday morning, but when we were looking at it a little bit and where they were projected, Marquette were let me try to find, because it was like, no, thank you. I'll have to find. Oh, is it? No, that's not.
Because they were earlier in the year, they were projected to be a conference winner.
Yeah, I think this is going to go down, but they were at a 6, but they would probably play Texas Tech in the next round, and I'd be like, yeah, no, I don't think they're going to Sweet 16.
No, I don't think so either.
And then this was the one too. It was Iowa State's a 2 seed on this.
They've been kind of a disappointment too.
And again, this doesn't mean it would be this way, but if they were to win, they would probably play Illinois as a 7 seed, and Illinois as a 7 seed, I think, could give teams fits.
Yes.
Just because, I mean, they're down because they were sick and hurt, and when they're healthy, they're a good team. They're a pretty darn good team.
They handle Michigan pretty easily.
Yeah. So that would be like the team that would worry me, kind of like Wisconsin is an 8 seed. Remember a couple of years ago, I was like, Villanova ended up losing to them.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if Illinois is a seed like that, I don't want to mess with
because
them.
Illinois got some big guys. They got that freshman Jarouziak or something like that, who's very, very good. He was hurt a little bit in the middle of the season, and they were down. But I think they're back to full speed now, and I think they're going to be a tough out.
Yeah. I'm excited to see the bracket come out and see how everything plays out, especially now that Auburn lost this week. We just mentioned Alabama just lost. They were ranked as a 2 seed here. Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, and that was another 1 seed that was on here. So I'm excited to see how this is all going to shake out. I mean, there's going to be people complaining and that, but that's fine. I mean,
Do you think I've heard speculation talk? You never know what the committee's going to do, but there won't be so many of these. Of course, and it's going to depend on conference tournaments. But if a conference leader and a favorite doesn't win some of these smaller conferences, I don't think those kind of schools are going to get at-large bids this year, because the SEC, they say, is going to put, 10, 12 teams in.
Yeah, Big Ten's got 11.
Yeah, and I think they're going to give the big conferences preference over the small schools for different reasons. Fan support, traveling on the road, a lot of different reasons. But I think those teams in the smaller conference better win your conference, because you're not going to get an at-large bid.
Well, the breakdown on Joe Lunardi's bracketology is 12 SEC teams, 11 Big Ten teams, 8 Big 12.
There you got 30 teams right there.
Right.
That's half the field almost.
ACC is just 3.
Yeah, well, that's all they've got.
Big East is just 4. So, yeah, it's...
Well, maybe there is room for some of those Big Sky Conference in the Middle East or whatever it is, some of these conferences, but I think it's going to be pretty much dominated by the big colleges and big conferences.
For those small ones too, the easiest way, I shouldn't say easy to make it sound easy, but win your conference tournaments if you have one to secure that spot. Otherwise, if you don't, then you're going to be really on the bubble of getting in. Especially since SEC is pretty deep, Big Ten's pretty deep. This year. I'm excited for the Big Ten conference tournament next week.
Oh, that's going to be a dandy.
So I think there's at least a half a dozen teams you could say could win that thing.
Yeah, and I think we talked about just a moment ago, I think Illinois has to be a dark horse on that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the standings alone, Michigan State will probably, and the other part in this too, we have it every year. It's that whole debate. Do you want to win your conference tournament? Because Big Ten, they're always the last one to get done on a Sunday. And then they might have to turn around and play on a Thursday. It's like that debate. Well, maybe win a couple games and then get an extra day of rest. And this is going to be a grueling, I think, tournaments with these teams. And Illinois might have more at stake to win that conference tournament, maybe to move up a little bit.
For their seeding, yeah.
Michigan State, they're probably going to be at least a 2 seed, I would imagine, at this point, regardless of how that conference tournament goes.
Yeah, you don't know how the coaches think. The big is it more important to win the conference or to make the Final Four? It's every coach thinks a little bit differently, but it'll be a fun tournament. It always is. It's always a fun tournament to watch with the upsets, and who knows what's going to happen.
But you got Michigan State's. We'll see. I'm kind of sour on Michigan right now, just the way they're trending a little bit.
Really falling off.
Maryland's going to be a tough one. Wisconsin, Purdue's still there. UCLA, Oregon, Illinois. I mean, that's over half a dozen teams, and that's how the rankings are going right now. So, yeah, I think you could make the case for a few different teams at the end of it. So I'm excited for that. That's going to be really and a good primer for the.
It's always a fun time of the year. You can get home and turn on about 3 or 4 games going on at once with all the networks that carry them.
And then you got the high school games going on too for state basketball.
Well. State basketball tournament is always fun.
So best of luck to all the girls teams. We got, as we mentioned earlier, a lot of local ones in
This
action
is sectional weekend.
Yep. We'll find out who goes to states.
Good.
Games today and then Saturday. So a lot of local ones. Best of luck to everybody out there, and best of luck to our hockey teams that begin state today too. ECA Stars are in action tonight. I know St. Croix Falls, St. Croix Central is in action too. So best of luck to everybody.
Great time of the year.
And the boys will be back at it again tomorrow. I think that's round 2 action for boys basketball, because some of them had to get their game times moved up with the weather. They moved them up a little bit earlier in the week. So, but it's that time of year, and I'm sure Brandon's going to be breaking it all down for us tomorrow. He's going to be another busy individual.
I was going to say, that boy's going to be busy running around following all this stuff like he does.
So Brandon will be with us breaking it all down tomorrow for our local sports roundup. And I know gymnastics states next weekend too. So yeah, it's all over the place. And then college wise, I mean, Blue Golds, shout out baseball. They were over at US Bank Stadium. They got their season underway. Won their first 2 games.
I
so
saw
they're
that.
2-0.
They won doubleheader right away.
Yep. Softball is going to be in action at the Sun and Tag this weekend too, and they're off to a fantastic start for Blue Golds. So
maybe some of these teams have scheduled outdoor baseball games for Monday and Tuesday next week. It's going to be around 60, but I don't think the fields are going to be in shape.
Well, I mean, one team that's probably saying, why couldn't that happen? Now Blue Gold baseball actually does have games scheduled at Carson Park for Saturday, but I don't think that's going to happen. So
no, that might be a little right now with the snow. I don't think the snow will be melted yet.
Yeah,
but well, reschedule it for Monday.
You never know, right?
Yeah, it's going to be around 60.
So I know wrestling, and we got some nationals coming up and such, but spring sports season's getting underway here too for the Blue Golds and for Stout. So.
And of course, we'll have the 50-degree party at the colleges probably on Monday. They'll everybody be out in the lawn with their beverages and lawn chairs and sunscreen. So have fun.
I miss those days.
Do you
miss
really?
College. Yeah, I miss it. That's why I want to be a teacher again. I want to be not again. I want to be a professor now.
Well, there you go.
I want to teach one class. Come on. I'll be strict.
Nobody will take it if you're strict.
All right. DP.
Don't do it online. Do it face to face
in
the classroom.
No. I want an office.
There you go.
And I want a classroom.
There you go.
DP Dance are up next. Have a good day. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning.